There you go, and we're live. So for anyone who happens to be watching, I'm Bree Sheldon. Pronouns are they or he, and I am running turn for GauntletCon. I have with me an array of awesome players, and we are going to have hopefully a very good time. We'll be using the script change toolbox for our safety tool, and I hope that everyone enjoys watching as much as we enjoy playing. So to talk a little bit about Turn as a game, Turn is a destructive design of Powered by the Apocalypse. So it has some bits and pieces that come along with Powered by the Apocalypse system, but it's quite different in a lot of ways. It is set in rural small towns, typically in the United States. And we have kind of the basics of a town set up for the purposes of this session. You'll still get to contribute to that and do some of the town building as part of the session. All of the players, your characters are characters who are shapeshifters, who have a human role in life and a beast archetype that you change into. And how the change works and everything is something that we'll talk about throughout the throughout this part of creation and start of the game. If at any point you ever have a question or are not sure what's going on, please feel free to call for a pause, and we'll honor the pause regardless of what it's for, and you can also use that for bio breaks. We'll do a break at about the halfway point for the 4-hour session. If you need to tap out, please also let me know. So the tone of Turn is a little different sometimes than other games because it's what I call a quiet drama. There shouldn't be really like any murders or explosions, nothing like that really coming up, especially not in first session. But what we will get to do instead is explore relationships and community and identity. The character sheets that have been provided to you include all of the human roles and all of the beast archetypes. You get to choose one of each of those. And to help you guide decision-making for choosing those, we will take turns reading the descriptions for them after we have built our town. In the folder that I shared with you, there is a town map. And this is the one that's in slides. That's got the town type and everything filled out already. So shapeshifters in turn, there's a reason why they are in small towns, and that kind of has yet to be defined. That's something you answer as you play. But the way they work is they have some specific rules that guide them. And I'm just going to briefly read some of those off right now. The first is that there's no like concrete origin. They aren't any particular kind of mythological or magical or scientific origin. We define that in play. If it ever even comes up at all, because sometimes you don't know where they came from. The magic in turn is only in shapeshifting. There isn't really like spells or wizards or anything like that. No one outside of the town, there's no like giant external entity hunting shifters. And this is important to play because if you had that threat, it would be a lot higher drama and a lot more intense. So we basically accept that no one else knows about shifters is the assumption. To the to the world of mundanes, so that's all beasts and people who aren't shifters, you are just normal people and animals. Shifters are effectively invulnerable. So they have rapid regeneration that heals enough that it doesn't matter if you do get hurts in any minor way. And you have natural bodily functions, but you do have a little bit of a supernatural hunger. You're hungrier than the average Joe. And the best part is you have super strength and super senses as shifters. So scent and sight. And it may be more pronounced based on the archetypes you choose. And you can age slightly more slowly because of your regeneration. And if you were to be lucky enough to have a particularly long-lived beast form that lived longer than a human, you would live as long as that form instead of the length of a human life. You can change form at will. And whenever you do that, it does not reset your stress tracks, which we'll talk about in just a moment. But it can give you access to powers of different forms and things like that. And the most important thing is, while you can be forced to change form based on your stress tracks filling up, you do not lose agency or control. Every decision you make is, in fact, an active decision. The beast never takes over or anything like that. And that will basically help you to understand that you do have the power in the situation. Just may be a little bit hard to deal with sometimes. Any questions about shapeshifters before we move forward?
So even the raven and the snake have super strength?
Yes. How that translates in game is sometimes a little interesting. But yes, all of you, and even in your human forms, you have the supernatural strength. Okay. So the next thing I'd like to have you take a quick look at is the struggles, which are in the folder. And you have struggles for both your beast form and your human form. So the way struggles work is they are not about whether you succeed or fail at the thing you're trying to do. In turn, you always succeed at the task you're trying to accomplish, though it may be difficult or take time. But there can be consequences, and that's where the struggles come in. When you take an action and your sides of your identity, your beast and human, are in conflict with each other or struggling over it, you will roll 2d6, sometimes +1, using the turn die. And depending on the results you roll, have consequences for your actions. And the turn die is an additional d6. So you have 2d6 +1 that can be used for most of your rolls except for 1 or 2 of the struggles. And when you use it, it's basically a bonus die that you take stress to use. And it's activated by looking at your 2 sheets, your 2 character sheets, and basically finding a power or ability on those sheets that can be referenced or relevant to the situation at hand, and say, I'm, calling on this ability of my human half, or I'm calling on this power that my beast has. They don't have to be the ones you have marked on your sheet whenever you take your sheet, take your character choices. They just have to be on the sheet. That's like the first time I've explained that live, and I really, really hope it was understandable. So please let me know if you have any questions.
Can you say that one more time? Sorry.
Yeah. So the struggles are basically the consequences for your actions. Whenever your sides are in conflict, you roll a struggle. And sometimes whenever you roll a struggle, you can add the turn die. And so you start with 2d6 and then add with a 1 additional third d6 if you can justify it based on the powers and abilities you have on your sheets.
Cool. Yeah.
I think I might have explained it backwards the first time, and I'm really sorry if that happened.
And the part when you say that it's only there if you have it on your sheet, those are things that come on the sheet, or maybe we'll be adding things to the sheets.
Yeah, every archetype has powers, so every beast has powers, and every human has abilities. And regardless of whether they're the ones that you like check off and choose for that specific character, if they're on the archetype or the role, you can actually have access to them for the turn die.
Oh wow, that's cool.
And so that leads into I'm sorry, I need to take a drink. I'm talking a lot. So that leads into talking about discovering turn. So we'll talk about stress and stuff a little bit more whenever we get to the character sheets themselves. But discovering turn is a set of questions that we're going to answer, basically to guide the way the shifters exist in the world of your game. So if I can find my sheet, I'll be more useful. Here we go. So the kind of questions that you run into here are because you're building your own world. This is pretty grounds up. We're in the modern world anywhere from 1995 to present. It's the cell phone era, effectively, because cell phones are just as useful as they are stressful. And we'll use these questions to guide town building and then character creation. Okay? So everyone can contribute, or we can go and let each person take a turn answering a question. For the first section, there's 4 questions. So if we wanted to do one of you each getting to respond to one, that would work. Just let me know your preference.
Bria, are these questions in a particular document that in the Google Docs thing, or they're ones you're just going to ask us?
I can paste them in the chat for one. I'll do that right now. There's a series of them that you answer at the start of the game, when someone risks exposure, and when someone turns. And these are in both the beta document and on the fancy town sheet. I can put them on the town map that we're using as well.
So these questions will help define like our particular world.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. They basically they help to frame before you build the town. And like I said earlier, I have some elements of the town picked out already to help speed up the process. But you all still get to contribute to the town significantly, which is why knowing some of these things can help with making decisions. It also helps with building your characters, because whether there are formal cultures and stuff like that does really impact the way you play and the way you build your character. Does that answer any of your question? Like, I hope I got you there.
Yeah.
Okay. So the ones that we'll ask are at the start of the game questions. That's what we'll be getting into initially. And that's the first 4 questions. So the first question is, can shifters tell each other apart from mundanes? And I will record your answer in the notes that I have that are also in the folder that I shared as a Google Doc. So if anyone had a particular preference, this would be something like, do you have pheromones? Do you have an aura that only other shifters can see? Kind of things like that. I've had games with both having this, not having this, or having really weird variations on it. So anyone who happens to have a preference is welcome to speak up.
I kind of like the idea of being able to tell that we're all non-mundane. I think it'll help bond the party at the beginning.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I was leaning toward, I had some instinct to say you can't tell just because it would be so weird, but especially because I imagine we're going to see other like NPC shifters possibly and like not knowing, but it would make it more difficult, that's for sure.
Yeah, you do. Most people end up saying they want to start knowing everybody just to make it easier. But this having the knowledge of each other and how that works can kind of make it smoother in that regard.
Yeah.
If you would like to have you tell each other apart, is there a particular way you would like to tell each other apart? If you don't have anything, that's totally okay. We always have the likelihood of running back into this, like even in the first session kind of play. Even in a one shot, it sometimes comes up.
Pheromones sounded really cool to me. I kind of like that.
Pheromones?
Yeah.
I smell your animal.
I could spell pheromones, we might be in a little bit better shape, but apparently that's a harder word. Okay.
You can just write BO.
Go ahead.
I said you can just write BO.
No, that's terrible. So for the next question, it is important to note the air is one of the shifter, like basically the human roles that you can have, where you come from a family of shifters. And the next question asks, is there any formal culture with shifters beyond the heirs family line? And this would be something like organizations or codes or even like if you were to have like a common religion or belief system. If you have a formal culture that's we're shifters together, that's what this is about.
I mean, I think it would be really fun to assume that there is, and then we can explore what that is in play and create it together.
I could see there being a like a sort of rigid code about behavior of shifters, but it's often broken, sort of like a almost like a chaotic good, not good, like classification or something that like so like people like they would sort of expect certain behavior, but then it can be broken. I don't know.
Okay.
Sort of random, but
Sure. I'll put yes with expectations for behavior. And there are two questions left. And both are about this kind of behavioral stuff that you're talking about. So do shifters have a formal or unspoken agreement to not expose themselves to the town? And by expose themselves, that means reveal that they are a shapeshifter to the mundanes. And this would be the difference between them having it codified in some way where there might be a punishment for it or some sort of way to respond to it by the larger culture of shifters, or if it's just something we all know not to do.
I like the idea of it being something that we just all know not to do, maybe because, you know, that's the the stories we got told, you know, growing up as shifters is like all these admonishments about bad stuff that happens.
Cool. Okay. And the last one is, do shifters have any moral code in regards to harming mundanes? And so it's important to point out, as beasts, you do a lot of the time harm other animals because of being, most of you, carnivores or predators in this, but not all of you are. But this would be, you know, harming other humans and things like unnecessary cruelty, anything like that.
Now, all of us shift into humans. Is that right?
Yes.
It seems to me like there would be... Oh, you go ahead.
How about like does not harm like?
Okay.
So if you're a human, you don't harm another human, but if you shift, then you can harm a human.
That's a really interesting interpretation that we haven't had before.
Yeah, I like that.
Like, is everybody okay with that?
Yeah.
I have questions about it, which I'm fine answering in game, but I'm wondering if that means that we like somehow see our human forms as like not quite our real form or something, or how we reconcile that we have a human form, but we're not like humans that cannot shift. Yeah, I'm sure we can figure it out.
It ties into the feeling. My instinct was to say that, you know, we really don't give a damn when we're shifted. So like that's sort of like that times double, because we don't give a damn either way. Like,
Nice. I like it. It's really interesting. And I like the phrase "like does not harm like." That's a really cool thing to like have codified.
yeah.
Cool. So to briefly just go over how mundanes and exposure work. Mundanes do not know about shifters, as I had mentioned. That's just a pretty hard rule. That doesn't mean they won't ever find out about them in game. That happens a lot, actually. But because of this, there's a mechanic called exposure. Exposure is basically either positive or negative, and something that comes into play when you are in any way revealing your differentness, either around mundane beasts or mundane humans. So it can be a consequence of struggle, and it can also be the consequence of using powers and things like that. And the next thing that we're going to do is build the town. So did we have any questions before we move forward?
Yeah, just quick question about that last item. So that's a rule so that's like a built-in potential for being affected by revealing your identity to a mundane.
Yes.
So, I mean, it's tied into our codes and things we were talking about. I mean, it's not tied to that exactly, but it's a parallel to that, built into the rules that will be affected when we reveal.
Yes. If you reveal aspects of yourself intentionally or unintentionally, like maybe doing something that's a little too strong for the average human being, or maybe just acting a little cold, or not wanting to socialize when you normally do, or something like that. Those kind of things all are possibilities for exposure. But they have mixed results, because you can have, if you do something that reveals, you know, your other side, regardless of which form you're in, and it's something that helps someone, that could be positive. So you can build up positive exposure. And you track this with NPCs and with the town itself. And if you have an animal group, with your animal group.
Wow.
Did I explain that okay?
Yeah, it's great.
Okay. Awesome. So I think I see 3 anonymous animals in my town map. I'm gonna just go ahead and link directly to it in the chat, so everyone can hop in to see. I think I might be. I do not know how to share it through Google Hangouts anymore. I apologize. I would have done that if I thought more, but I didn't. But hopefully you can see it. So this is a map with a couple of things added onto it. And I'm going to try and make sure that you all have the ability to edit this, because we're all going to add things to the map. The towns in turn all have different types. That's what that town type in the center is for. And earlier today in the chat, I had some people help me doing basically the facilitator side of stuff, like all of the stuff that I would add, I had them help me add. And that was a couple of different people, like Dylan Ross and Bethany and Paul, all were really excellent. And it's my first time doing it this way, so we'll see how it goes. The different things on here: progress is a theme. Storybook land is a location. It's an abandoned theme park. Punkin Chunkin is an event. And Baldwin is a bloodline. All of those are different elements of the town that will you'll each get the chance to add one of a couple of them, and collectively for 1 or 2 others. I'm just bringing up my instructions to make sure that I don't tell you the wrong number of things or something. I apologize.
You say Storybook Land is abandoned? It's an abandoned theme park?
It is abandoned and then newly purchased is the summary that we came up with during our little negotiation. And it used to be a hangout for all the shifters in any form that they were in, but now it's a threat. And the inaugural event of reusing it is the Punkin Chunkin event,
cool.
Using one of the empty fields. I'm just bringing up my sheet that helps me remember the order in which we do town things. I'm super sorry it's taking me so long. Okay. So we chose the type of town to be a college town, and the discussion that we had around it is that it's somewhere in New England, like Pennsylvania and upward. It's a kind of smaller, kind of cramped town. And it's set during this time of year in fall. What year did you all want to play in? Anywhere from 1995 to present is available.
Mm. 2004.
2004. All right.
Why? Was there something in particular in 2004 you liked?
I'm trying to set myself on kind of like an East Coast memory zone, and for me, that's anything earlier than 2006.
Okay.
So I'm just doing this selfishly, but nobody else seemed to pipe up. So
if everyone else is okay with that, that's great.
Sure.
Awesome.
I don't really, it's hard for me that like 2004 was not a particularly, well, I don't know. It doesn't stand out to me as like with a whole lot of characteristics, but I think I can delve into that. I think I can figure it out.
Mission accomplished.
Oh God. Uh, so we're talking tech-wise, like we still have like cell phones and stuff, but they're crappy, and there's a lot of political unrest, as per the usual, I guess.
But they're
Pre-election or post-election?
I guess it would be leading up to it, if we're going to be playing right about this time of year. So that's kind of fun in its own way.
And this is pre-Facebook too.
A true blessing.
That's true. Good call.
So if we're in this New England town, how old is it? Is it one of like the super old towns, or is it newly established for East Coast standards?
My instinct says like really kind of cheesy and gross and kind of like generic, and maybe some like old stuff that's like covered with stucco and like, you know, commodified, and mostly it's just like generic and gross.
Like track homes?
Yeah, track homes and like single story, like little strip mall-y kind of things, and like small town strip mall-y things.
Right.
But that's just what pops into my head. You guys change it if you want.
Is that cool?
Yeah, that sounds good. That's
Awesome.
Makes it interesting to be animals in something like that.
I mean, rural neighborhoods are weird because you'll have like a strip mall and then you'll have like 12 miles of highway with like nothing. So I imagine it's a little bit of that. Like it's not actually a very big town, but there's like pieces of it separated. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think it's like all sort of diced up in like a modern kind of gross way, where you could have a really old building next to like a Dunkin' Donuts, you know, and you know a building might be kind of modernish and gross, but then you go inside and it's like really ancient and weird.
Yeah, I like that. So what would we call our town? What do you think you would name this kind of place? We've had like a whole bunch of different stuff, like people with like random name point, and like we have Cauldron Springs is one place that we had, and if this place is kind of feels a little fake-y like that, maybe something that calls to that.
How about rotten, but spelled ROTTON?
That sounds like a Pennsylvania town. Honestly, it does. I'm just gonna say. How does everybody feel about rotten?
Sure.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
Cool. So, in the town of Rotten, as it is a college town, we have a couple of themes to choose from. And the themes, basically, they are going to help inspire the things that happen in the town. Before we define those, I did choose a population kind of at random for this to help us move along. But I do want to ask a couple of quick questions to help with that. is what is the majority of the population? Is this primarily Italians, or are there just a lot of generic white people? Is it like one of the only smaller towns in the area that has majority Black population? What do you think? It's okay to keep it really simple.
I see conflicts of different groups. Like, even though I said it wasn't like a really old New England town, I sort of see like the kind of old New England, like golf club kind of older people, like, you know, like plaid and like weird gingham pants and hats and stuff, clashing with some other group.
Okay.
Anybody wants to throw that out?
Okay. We definitely, you know, I do ask, like, what are some of the minority groups in town? So those clashes are expected.
What was the word? Nordic?
Minority?
Oh, minority. Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
So are we talking rural population size less than 50,000?
Yes. If you look at the map in the center of the map, it has the population of 3,268.
Oh, wow.
That's about
small.
that's mid-size for the town size you can have in turn, which is 1,000 to 5,000.
Well, I think they probably at least have a Chinese restaurant with a Chinese family.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've never lived in or even really visited for a great length of time any town that small, not in America anyway, so I'll just have to use my imagination for what that's like and tropes and such.
It's honestly, a lot of people haven't lived in tiny towns, but that's mostly what I lived in, so I have a lot of experience. And so aside from the racial majority and minority groups and any gender groups or anything like that that would be different, we also ask, how common are shifters? Are there a lot of you? Or is it really just, you know, this very small niche community?
I think there either have to be a lot of us, or there has to be some reason why we would come together in a town this small.
Cool.
But if we're secret, then there's probably not a lot of us. So, I mean,
a lot is very subjective.
Sure. But if there's 3,000 people in the town, and we're already all shifters here, you know, we got 5 shifters here. Sorry, Bree, are you playing any character in this game?
I'm just the town manager in this.
Gotcha. So,
but
so
I'll portray NPCs and so on.
4 out of 3,000. So are there 1% of the population shifters?
So, Bree, you mentioned that we can be slow aging. Is it possible that all of us are rather old and the town came to us? It sounds like with all the stucco track homes, it might be maybe most of the town is relatively new.
You'd have to be, I think, pretty old for that. And so the longest lived that a shifter can be is the age of their longest lived form. So a very healthy, long-lived human, or like a tortoise or something. And unfortunately, I don't have that playbook yet. But you could be from like a kind of previous generation and all older members of the community. but people kind of see you as staples and never really realized you haven't been aging quite as fast as everyone. So maybe there's an older population of shifters, and most of you are like last generation, basically. Does that make sense?
Okay, yeah. So we're like the kids. So we have our parents. What a question I have about shifters is, so it sounds like we all have different forms. Like we have different animal forms.
Yeah, you can. I mean, you could all have the same form, because that's possible to do in the game. But most of the time, people choose a different one, because there's 8 total.
Yeah, I was thinking, I mean, I don't want to do this, but it would be funny if we were all tortoises.
If I ever actually get that written, the base forms are wolf, raven, bison, otter, raccoon, cougar, bear, and I'm forgetting one. And I can't remember which one. This is what happens when I don't have my sheets right in front of me. So bear, cougar, otter, raccoon, snake, raven, wolf. There's no tortoise yet, but it's on the docket.
Bison, maybe is the one.
Yes, bison. Yeah. Bison is the one. Thank you. But yeah, we can say I think it's easy to say that there's like that you're mostly older member of the community, if that's what you would like to do. The next big thing that we'd start covering is just filling in the themes and bloodlines and any other details on the town. And whenever we go into character generation, we'll figure out ages, I think, in detail. So I'm trying to figure out which sheet I shared with you that has the town type. I can't think. I'm so sorry. The town type themes. I'm just trying to grab them for you to choose from, basically. And I'm struggling to find things right now. I apologize.
Is this town sheet that you're looking for?
Yeah, there's a town sheet that has it on it, and I think I'm just like looking right past it. But on the second page, they're upside down. But I can copy them over real quick. So the town themes are I have progress on there already. They're youth, wealth, rowdiness, legacy, expertise, and guests. Those in the chat. I'm sorry about that delay.
Does the word college indicate that there is a college, or that's just a category name for those?
It does imply that there is a college there.
Okay.
Whether it's an old or new one is kind of up to you. Like even if it's still running, it just could always have been a college town, even if the college is shut down or something like that. And each of you get to choose one of these to add to the map. And so you'll choose, like I chose progress, right? And when I put it on the map, I drew a line out and drew a circle and put the word progress in the circle. The distance between the circle with the name of the theme, and the town itself implies how much of influence it actually has on the town, how relevant it is, how important it is. So you each get to choose one of these and put it on the map. And either I can add them to the map for you once you tell me what they are, or you can add it to the map yourself. Let me know if you have any questions.
Could you clarify if like expertise or like guests means anything in particular, or?
It's very translatable. Kind of whatever you think it should mean in this instance. We've had those things be translated to mean a bunch of different things. But expertise generally has meant things like experts, like literal actual experts in the town, like knowledgeable people about things, and things like education and stuff like that. And guests typically means people from out of town come into town regularly.
Okay.
And this stuff all applies either in the human side or the beast side, or in both. So like guests could be locusts or something like that, and that would be like a thing that would occasionally come up in the story.
Okay, cool. One thing I've noticed, and I'm not sure how to think about this in terms of what the gameplay is going to be like, is that other than maybe the raccoon, like all the animal forms seemed like they would stand out. If they were, if a bison was just wandering through town or something, or a snake would probably cause some alarm if it was like wandering by somebody that like a human that saw it. So I'm wondering if like, I don't know, I'm just kind of trying to think in my mind. It seems like all the animal forms would probably be very secret, and we wouldn't really, it would almost be, I don't know, it would be like, it seems like it would almost certainly lead to some sort of adventure if the animal forms were taken on around people at all.
Well, it can. I almost had somebody turn into a bison in the mayor's office once. But it also, like, there are woods typically and wilderness in rural areas. And if you can get into them, you're much less noticeable. But also some people keep bison herds, and that's how we've had people disguise that in the past. And people surprisingly don't notice a lot of stuff. So if you make an effort, you can mostly stay not, witnessed.
Just put a shirt and a hat on that bison. You're done. No one will know.
Yeah, get a shave and pretend you're a cow.
Did anyone have any idea?
I'd like to put something on the map. I'd like to put guests on the map.
Okay.
I think it was an amusement park that had been shuttered and is newly bought. I think that means guests have a big impact on the town. I see that, this was a town that used to be able to support guests to a large degree, but then maybe that fell out of fashion or something else outcompeted the amusement park and it was shuttered. And now somebody's willing to put up some money to at least buy the property. We'll find out, I guess, what exactly is up. But I think guests are important.
All right. So do you want me to put that on the map, or do you want to draw it on?
I don't think I have access to the dock yet, so I'll let you drop it on there.
I did try and make it say that you could do it, but I'm struggling. I think it actually would go up kind of like near progress.
I reloaded the page, and I think I have something now.
I can take out that line that I was drawing then.
Yeah. I'll take care of this biz. So
it can only come out from the town, and these can only connect to one other thing. So, like, if you put the circle, it will only connect to the town. Does that make sense? Like your line you draw?
I can't connect it to Storybook Land?
No. It can only connect to one thing.
Gotcha.
but it can be close to storybook land. And that can indicate that it's relevant to it.
All right.
So, like if you wanted to put it like even overlapping the line a little bit with progress. Cool. And if you can color that pink to match progress, that would be great. Did anyone else have one that they wanted to add? And you want to spread them out around as much as you can. So you have things that seem unrelated or maybe are unrelated.
I was thinking about those golfers that John mentioned, and I don't know if it would be wealth or legacy, but I was sort of thinking about a very wealthy old community that maybe doesn't give their money to the town so much, but just spends it on themselves on the golf course. So maybe a further away kind of thing. That would be a good representation. But
yeah, so like you could draw a line that's really long and extends really far away from the town on the opposite side, maybe of like progress and stuff over near Baldwin, but not necessarily connected to Baldwin. So like draw from the town out just in a long line. I can put that on there for if you want.
Cool, I'll give it a go. I think I'm going to go with wealth, if that's all right. Maybe it's new wealth, new old people who have come to town. Not sure.
What if it's retirees?
Retirees, yeah, maybe.
What about you, John and Walter?
Yeah, I was thinking of youth, and in particular, I'm thinking it's a college town that there's like a small liberal arts college, and that in particular the youth, because there's not a whole lot going on in town other than college, that the students are very transient. Like very few of the students hang out during the summer, and they just they come, they stay in the dorms or rent places for the school year, and then they kind of take off.
Yeah. Okay. Then where do you think you would want to put that on the map?
That's a good question. So guests, it sounds like you wanted guests to refer to people coming to Storybook Land. I mean, these youth almost sound like, the students almost sound a little bit like guests, but maybe not quite as much. But I think I would want it kind of medium distance. I think it changes the character of the town a little bit when they're in town. Maybe the locals kind of have mixed feelings about them. Like a lot of the locals, I can imagine, maybe work at the college in some capacity. Some of the older, wealthier people.
How would you feel about having it on the bottom near Punkin Chunkin? Because that's a pretty youth-focused event a lot of the time. Okay. It's basically being violent with pumpkins.
Oh, all right. And is that is that something that draws people in from out of town as well?
I think so. Yeah, I think that's one of the few things that brings people in from out these days, anyway.
Bree, what is Baldwin again?
So Baldwin is a bloodline, and you'll add those next for yours. Right now, we're adding themes.
Yeah. Sure.
And so I had just added basically one of each thing to help us get started and have a lay of the land to see if that would help speed the process of town building.
Okay, I'm going to do, I am going to do rowdiness.
Sweet.
And that is going to be like a kind of, what was it? What's that movie? Breaking Away, The Breakers, right? Like the towny kind of, but they're like kind of hip-hoppy, wannabe, kind of like rowdy towny kind of people.
Okay. Yeah, rowdiness works. Where would you like to put that?
I think it's going to be, let me see. Copy this. I think it would be, let me see, probably over in this corner. Oh, shoot. That's not right. There we go. Okay.
I'm not moving anybody's stuff. I'm just changing the colors to be
Oh, okay.
the because
Oh, sorry. I was like,
no, it's okay.
yeah. I changed my color back. I'll put it back to where you got it.
It's okay. So I make the colors similar to try and make it easy to recognize the themes versus the bloodlines versus the
okay. Cool.
items. Cool. So I can think of any number of ways in which rowdiness is relevant. So the next thing that we'll add is bloodlines. And for bloodlines, all you need to do is choose a last name and put it on basically either connected to the town, a theme, or one of these two, the event and location that I have on the sheet, which are these two things.
And are these bloodlines of shifter bloodlines or just like any mundane or anybody?
They all have the potential to be shifter bloodlines, but are not necessarily. I generally try and hop them off of the themes because a lot of the time they end up being really like relevant to like the town culture and stuff like that. So like you might have a family that's like directly connected to rowdiness. That's a bloodline. But you could also have like someone who's connected to the town and important because they're connected to the town. Like maybe they're the founders or something like that.
Should we go ahead and just add them?
Yep.
Or?
Yeah. Just you just need a last name. Aim for diversity if you can, or if you're doing it on purpose to not be diverse, that's fine too. To point out how white it is. That happens a lot.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what race this name is, but I was thinking about Guff Tarot with a dash in between it.
That's great.
Next to Rowdiness.
That sounds like a family like joined name, which I like.
Does it matter the distance from
it does say kind of how relevant it is to it. Everywhere you place something on the map kind of defines how relevant it is to whatever it's next to and near to. So like the Baldwins were connected to the town and really far away from progress on the map. So that might imply that they aren't very progressive, but they're really important to the town somehow. And let me know if you need any help with names or anything like that. And if you have like ideas of how these people are relevant to these things, like what they do or whatever, that's okay to put out there too. I don't know how to pronounce the one up there. Spicoli? Is that right? Did I get it?
Yeah, let's go with Spicoli. Pardon me.
Okay, so I just added. No, I don't like Hauser.
Hauser's good.
Okay, Hauser. I was thinking they're kind of near the youth thing, meaning they're near the college, and so it's sort of more like a line of like professors and things.
Okay.
Yeah, kind of like, or just kind of like, I mean, not particularly distinguished, but more kind of like bureaucrats within college, like trying to sort of run their turf, sort of. But
Okay. So do you want those maybe connected to the town with the line? I can put it on.
yeah,
Because they aren't all necessarily youth, but they're all connected. They're like nearby it and relevant to it.
yeah.
Cool. I'm just going to fix the line for youth because it's not connecting. And I want it to connect. Why is it not connecting?
So I'm putting together some ideas in my head that my last name is Pham, and I'm from a Vietnamese family, and maybe my parents are actually kind of from out of town, but they just bought some investment property in town that they rent out to the college students. So I was thinking maybe I would link my name to youth or something. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you can do that. That works great. Cool. And so once you've done that, for the town, the last thing is I've already added one location and one event, and that's the abandoned theme park that is being unabandoned. I don't know what words I was looking for there. And the Pumpkin Chunkin event. The Pumpkin Chunkin is an annual event that briefly wasn't happening because of terrible happenings, basically. So from there, you all can add, we can do 2 to 4 total locations and up to 3 events. In the interest of time, I'd like to stick to just adding 1 more of each, or just 1 more of one of them. Preferably a location.
Golf course. No, actually, that's not true.
The banker's house.
So one thing to keep in mind, and this is my fault that I did not say this clearly. Sorry. These should be places that all of you can get to. So all of the characters who are shifters should be able to have access to it. So it should be a public place, a wilderness place, something like that. So nothing that would be restricted by someone's specific ownership.
Yeah, I like there being a wilderness. I like there just being like a forest kind of out somewhere nearby, like just some woods just outside of town somewhere, and like a river, a nice river that goes through it. Maybe it's more of a brook this time of year.
How do y'all feel about a forest?
Yeah.
How about a lake? Forest with a lake. A lake in a forest. A lake would be a nice meeting place.
Okay, you could maybe just say, you know, like the lake or lake something, like name the lake.
Okay.
Yeah, because that have, like cabins and things, and yeah, that would be cool.
I think you would. Go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, are we connecting these the way we have been to the names and the themes?
Yeah, they can connect to anything. Just only with one connection. So they could connect to guests, they could connect to the town, they could connect to another one of the bloodlines.
Okay.
Basically, the further you get out in what you build on, the more things it's allowed to connect to. So, like, you could put it connected to. I could even see the lake being connected to guests or the town. But maybe stretching over a little bit closer towards wealth, because I imagine a lot of like rich people like camp there and like fish there and stuff like that.
Yeah. I was thinking something along the same lines. Possibly could it, but it can only be connected to one. It can be connected to both guests and wealth.
It can be connected to one, but close to the other. So you would just like connect it and like draw the line out and put it actually physically close to one of them. And connect it to the other.
All right, then I'll connect it to wealth, but put it close to guests, because I think the while the wealthy people probably own the property around the lake, it's like popular for out-of-town guests to come and stay there.
Great.
And that should be like the storybook land color?
Yes.
All right, I'll try and save you the work of having to change the color.
I appreciate it.
Needs a name. Lake
Donut.
Fallen Leaf. Lake Donut? I was going to call it Fallen Leaf Lake.
I like it.
Such a poetic name. That's lovely.
Offset's rotten a little bit.
Well, they do rot.
True. True.
Cool. So after we're done with this, we can always add more elements to the town, but they're added with a dotted line rather than a solid line. And that's just to show the differentiation and the growth and change. So I want to go through I want to move on quickly to talk about the human roles and the beast archetypes and read through those before we take a quick break. So if you are able to open up the character sheets, I can basically what I normally do is I have each person take a turn reading the paragraph to introduce the type of character, like the different role. And we do the human roles first, and then we do the beast archetypes separately. But you're welcome to look at all of them at once to start planning what you want to play. We just read them so that everybody can think about it together as well. So what I'll do is I'll read the first one, and then if we can just go in order, I'll put the order in chat to kind of make it easy for us to follow. I'm just using what's showing up on the screen for you. So I hope that's okay.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
The family names that we added, is our character going to be part of that family name that we added, or can it be any of them that were added, or not on those, something different?
Your last name may be different, but you're always related to a bloodline. For some of the roles, you may not know that bloodline yet.
Okay.
So it's to be discovered.
Okay, got it. Cool.
So in the chat, I just put a little list of, it's reading from my left to right of who will read in order after me, going down and reading the paragraph under the title of each role on the sheet. Okay. So I'll go first with the beast born. And the paragraph that's with it is, you were born in the wilderness in the shape of a beast. Somehow you were brought into human society and assumed a role to protect yourself. You are more comfortable as a beast than most, but your human needs still drive you to find safety and companionship. The call of the wild is often so strong, you let your mundane companions down.
The heir. Your family has plans for you, and you must live up to them. In public, you will further the family business and never disappoint. In private, you'll keep the family secret that you, like those before you, can shift. A secret kept quiet for a long time. The responsibility rests on your shoulders to be everything your family wants you to be. The only choice for you is how.
The late bloomer. You were and had always been normal. You had a life as a human that was outright mundane, and it was satisfying. There were days when you looked out the window and felt a stirring in your heart, but that was all until your beast burst forth. Now you see the world with new eyes and struggle to find your footing while you straddle both worlds, wondering which will slip first. Which side will slip first?
The lover. You know yourself well, and you know that your life isn't complete without companionship. There are many ways you might seek it, but more than anything, you want to have another to fill your moments with and be part of you. To outsiders, you can appear desperate or lonely, but your motivations are yours alone. To be truly yourself, you need more than one heart.
Okay. The organizer. When there is something to be done, you get it done. You are well known for being a good planner and can coordinate groups from intimate to extravagant. It comes naturally to you to make events and social experiences real. The downside is that sometimes you fade into the background, concerned with the fine details. You find yourself challenged with finding a place at the table.
The overachiever. You want to do everything perfectly. Everything. Regardless of the source of your drive, you set your goals high and you push until you meet them. It may have strained your relationships, unless you've gotten that just right too. Your achievements until now are obvious to others, but you appear dissatisfied. Maybe you just haven't found perfection.
The show-off. If there was a circle of fire for you to ride a motorcycle through every day for breakfast, you'd do it. You live for attention and crave action at almost any expense. You invigorate others to do things they never would have dreamed, but don't know how to chill when the time is right.
Awesome. Thank you all. So on your sheets, the human role sheets in front of you, there's a couple of important aspects that you'll want to keep in mind. And the first is your stress tracks that are in the bottom right. The stress tracks are different for some of the characters. Like the air has a longer human track, the beast has a longer beast track. The beast born has a stronger beast track. And these are whenever you use the turn die, and sometimes whenever you get consequences from struggles, you can take stress, and they build up and force you to turn to your other form. And you can't come back until you've been comforted or prioritized. And there's also your NPC relationships and your PC relationships. Your human abilities, the one you get starting, and then the advanced is one that you get when you advance. And then the goals. And the goals are kind of what your character's out there to do. You do other things in the game, but these are just the ways that you can advance to kind of gain new abilities and powers. Look over these, and once you have chosen the one that you would like to play, you will go through and answer the identity questions, and then we'll share some stuff between each other. And then we'll do the background questions after we choose our beasts, basically. And in the meantime, the first thing I want to start with doing is you're putting your name and pronouns where player name is, or writing down on a Google Doc is typically what I do whenever I'm doing this digitally.
Would you like us to fill out the... Oh, that's a PDF. So we should just make notes for ourselves.
If you can, you can... I don't know if you can do it in that folder, but if you can share it with me, so I can help with any questions you might have, that would be great.
So maybe open up a Google Doc in that folder with our information, or maybe one or something.
Yeah.
Should we do it in the notes, like each on a page or something?
That would be perfect.
There's the notes. I haven't looked at that yet.
Yeah, it's there's just a Word document in the GauntletCon 18 folder that I shared with y'all.
Oh, okay, and it has all the cool.
And if you just type out like your name and character name and pronouns, choose your bloodline if you are having a character that has one chosen, and then the birth month is just that's typically used for advancement and like renewing goals each year in game, but it also just kind of serves to, you know, give the character a little bit more growth.
Bree, you said that the stress tracks were different. I thought I heard you say that they were different.
They should be for two of the characters.
Because I think
unless I
all
accidentally
have 4s in each one.
For the air, they have 7 on their human track instead of 5, and the Beastborn has 7 on their beast track instead of 5. And that's the only time when stress is different, is on those two sheets.
Oh, I think that maybe the PDF you shared doesn't reflect that. They seem to just all have 4 on each one, or 5 on each one.
Oh, that's very unusual. I am not sure why that's the case, because it's the one I copied over. Give me just 1 second, and I will fix that. Super sorry.
Oh God, this thing is absolutely nothing. Yeah.
I think we need access to that note stock too. It's just view for me.
Okay, I'm so sorry. Let me just get this into that.
Does anybody have a sense of like which one you're choosing?
I've got it narrowed down to 3. I was thinking Beastborn, Show Off, or Late Bloomer.
I feel like the air is sounds interesting.
Okay. There's now a character sheet's labeled correct. And so hopefully hopefully that will be the correct thing for you. And there is the notes document. I actually need to take a brief bio break. And I've never done that while I'm on Hangouts before. So I apologize. If you want to keep looking over those and any questions, I'll address them as soon as I get back. I'm going to just let this keep going and just mute my end.
Great.
Anything before I go? Any urgent questions?
Sounds good. So we should talk among ourselves and fill out the human part of our characters.
Yeah, only fill out your basic information and your identity questions.
Okay.
And then we'll choose your beasts before you do the background questions.
Okay.
Okay? All right, I'll be right back. Thank you.
I was thinking about Late Bloomer.
So thinking.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I was going to claim Beastborn if nobody else wants it.
Cool.
Okay. Is everybody all right if I take air?
Mm-hmm.
Late Bloomer?
Let's see. So I think and that's everybody but me. So I think I would do Show Off maybe.
I like the description of Show Off. I think I'm always gonna think of Evel Knievel jumping through a flame of fire on a motorcycle.
So we were just filling out the identity questions or anything else?
Oh. Right, I think maybe just that, yeah.
Okay, I'm taking a bio break now as well.
Yeah, I'm gonna go get something to drink, I think.
I'm back.
This technology is so crazy. It's so funny being looking at a spreadsheet and then suddenly hear somebody, not a spreadsheet, but a Google Doc, and hear somebody say, I'm back. I'm looking at Google Docs all day long without people saying that in the background.
Some of the players just said they were going to take a bio break themselves. They just said that like a minute ago, so they might be a couple minutes to come back.
That's totally fine. I forgot to tell people to take the opportunity. I have caught some con cred after Big Bad Con, so I've been kind of sick off and on all day long, and I was like, I better hurry.
What do you call that? Con cred? From being sick? From like recovering from playing too late?
Yeah, basically, like every time I go to conventions, and it happens for a lot of people too, is your immune system like tanks basically, and you're around like hundreds of people, and like I tried really, really hard to take care of myself, but like I just did not manage it this time. I caught some sort of stomach bug, and it's been making it very hard to keep up with the day.
That's funny you mentioned that, because I was feeling like I have a little something today. Like I've been blowing my nose a little too much, and like at lunch I took like one of those vitamin C packets, and I hadn't connected it to the con until just now. But maybe that's it.
Yeah, I have both head cold and stomach bug going on, and it's just a very frustrating combo, which is why I was kind of like, I'll be right back. But I'm here now.
You wouldn't know it from any of your presence so far. Man, you function. You're highly function.
Lots of practice. When you're disabled, a lot of the time you learn to fake it really well. And it's not that I'm not excited to be here. Just necessarily the level of energy is a little added on. But I appreciate all of your patience while I had to step away and everything. So thank you.
By the way, I like your setup. It's the lighting and your mic right in front of you. You look very professional, like you're ready to I don't know, do some serious podcasting or something.
Thank you very much. I'm a big fan of my current setup. I have like an IKEA light with like a one of those like box filters that they do for fancy cameras and pictures. Actually mounted on top of it so that I get a smoother look. I take a lot of selfies.
Nice. I've been thinking of getting something like that. Obviously, my lighting isn't very good. I have the only other light in my room is it ends up being kind of behind my head and it like blinds people on the camera. So I need to figure out a new lighting situation.
Yeah, IKEA is a good place to start. It's cheap and they have a lot of options.
I've seen like streamers have these like special filter light things that they get. Is that kind of like what you were talking about? Like a
Yeah. Mine's like it's basically like a box with dark sides and a like opaque white front, which filters disperses it, so it's not like all one bright shining spot on my face.
That's smart. Yeah, like lights never work for me on these video screens. Like I always look like a either dark or it's like I look like a light bulb.
Well, maybe I'll take some shots of my setup and put it up on the Slack or something. Uh-oh. We lost.
The light bulb went out.
You know. We will give it a second for John to return. There we are.
Oops.
There you are. Bye.
I hit a stray button. Just my finger touched it.
That's all right.
Yeah.
So, how far were you able to get while I had to step away? Did you guys have any questions?
I think I've got. So, did you want us to do the identity questions, but not the background questions? Was that right?
Right. Just the identity questions for now. Then next we're going to look at the beasts, and then we'll finish up the background questions. It's helpful sometimes to know your beast before you do the background questions. I do apologize that I didn't have these like ready to like copy and paste for all of you. I kind of missed on that. I will literally blame it on being kind of ill today. I haven't been able to keep up with just about anything. So. Once y'all feel like you're good, just flag me, let me know. And then we will look at the beast archetypes.
Sorry, did you want us to choose a goal at this point, or not yet?
Those are, you don't choose them until you're actively in play, and even then it's not a formal choosing.
Okay.
You go for whichever ones narratively you want to be going for.
Cool.
I just like people to be aware of them while they're choosing their stuff.
Oh.
So while you're finishing up, I'll just briefly go over. I'm so sorry. Basically, the way the natures and struggles and stress interact with the dice. The natures are the habits and the instincts on your different 2-character sheets, and these are basically your stats, and those are absolute values, so they can be positives or negatives based on what you're rolling for. So with your powers and everything, they're normally positives. With struggles, they're normally negatives. So with your struggles, you're normally rolling those against your opposing form, basically. Like you're struggling, so you're fighting against yourself. And so you roll them as you roll your opposing form's natures against your roll as like a penalty. So that's why those are different on the sheets, is because they actually reflect on each other and can bonus or penalize against each other. How's it going?
Good. Who is this Spicoli family again?
I don't believe we had detailed that. Go ahead.
I dropped that in there, but yeah, I was. I'm happy enough to have it be discovered in play.
Oh, okay.
If there's a bloodline that we'd never really defined anything for, or that and that you were wanting to use as yours, you are free to do so. Did you have any other questions, anybody? Once you think you're ready, just maybe toss a line in the chat or just vocalize, because I would like to move on to the beasts.
I feel ready.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Me too.
Great. So we'll do the same thing with the beasts that we did with the human rolls, and just read off the first paragraph. And you'll note these are referred to instead of the roll, they're a beast. And that is because if multiple of you want to play the same kind of beast, you can do so. So the first is a bear. Bears are big, fuzzy omnivores. They are very strong, surprisingly fast, and have little hesitation when it comes to protecting the things and creatures they care about. They have dens where they hibernate in the winters, and yes, they do love honey.
A bison. Bison are large, herd land mammals whose natural life breed a sense of community and compassion for those within the herd. In defense, they can be a tenacious and powerful foe.
The cougar is a large feline predator. They are most active during dusk and dawn, and are skilled hunters capable of taking down prey 10 times their size. They are typically solitary and territorial. They tend to get what they want.
An otter. Otters are playful, lovable, and very effective hunters. They are semi-aquatic and carnivorous, and generally live in groups of families and fellows. They are known to play games and work with some rudimentary tools, entertaining mundanes and terrifying their prey.
A raccoon. Raccoons are a pervasive, invasive, and familiar sight in rural neighborhoods, and generally go unremarked aside from being minor annoyances. They're particularly skilled at adapting to mundane environments and can and will eat nearly anything.
A raven. Ravens are clever, omnivorous birds who are messengers of forewarning and can solve problems many beasts would find a challenge. Their ability to fly is valuable, but their keen intellect and sharp beak serve just as great a purpose. You're on mute.
Thanks. Sorry about that.
Okay.
A snake. Snakes are sleek, slithering reptiles who are able to shed their skin and begin anew as time passes. They are carnivorous, with a reputation for drawing prey and with hypnotizing movements, and in popular fiction, mesmerizing sounds. They are friendly with those like them, though with others they are particularly cold-blooded.
A wolf. Wolves are canine carnivores who typically travel in packs, hunting over large territories. They have strong instincts, well aware of those in their pack and any who might threaten them. Their howls can be heard not just during the full moon and call attention to their presence, bringing both comfort and concern, depending who you happen to be.
Awesome. So if you would like to choose which of these you would like to be your beast, and then sorry, choose your secondary beast power, which are on the right side, and then as soon as you've done that, we'll do a quick introduction of our characters to each other. And then I say we, I talk like I'm doing the game, and that's because I'm used to like helping somebody GM this, so I apologize. But once we do that, then we'll do background questions and move into things like the PC and NPC stuff. If you want to just let me know what you choose, if you have any questions, anything like that, I'm here.
So
I'm choosing a raven.
Nice.
I'm sorry.
Something like a bison.
Bisons are awesome. So just to give some context for the people that I have had who have played that, some of them have kept it secret extremely well. One person had a herd of their own bison, which is not unheard of out here. And the other person who played it just did a really good job at keeping chill.
So it sounds like one of the risks in this game is that you'll be in one form and you'll get too stressed because you're maneuvering or doing something, and then you'll just spontaneously switch forms.
Yeah. You can force turn from getting overstressed. Basically, when your stress track maxes out, and that can be both into human form and into beast form. Like, it's not just you get turned into a beast. Both ways happen. And when that happens, you need to use one of the struggles. Either have someone comfort you with have a heart, or use prioritize to put yourself first to basically eliminate that stress and return to your alternate form.
And we choose only one beast power. Okay.
Yeah, you have one already, and then you add the second one.
The basic power for otter, when with your romp, is you cannot generate exposure with mundane humans.
Right.
So is a romp like a grouping of
Yes. Yeah. A romp is the equivalent of like a herd or something like that. It's a collection of otters. It's typically mixed family and social relationships. And whenever you're going through and if you happen to choose one of the animal group beasts, so anything with a herd or a pack or a romp, your animal group mates are typically not shifters. They're typically mundane animals.
So Bree, I'm imagining that my character is that got the shape-shifting as a familial trait, and that my character's family is Vietnamese. I can totally imagine figuring out like just my character's a North American bison, but I'm also wondering how you'd feel if I translated that to like a Asian water buffalo.
So long as your family has actually been living in the area for at least one like full generation, then yeah, that's fine. You can translate it that way for the purposes of this. I only make that clarification to make sure you understand that you can't have just like moved here and were a buffalo elsewhere. All of the bloodlines are supposed to have been in the town for at least one full generation.
Okay.
Okay.
So is the idea that my family, as opposed to, so you're saying like my family can't be like living somewhere else, and I like moved to the town, and I'm the first generation of the town. Like I have to be from a bloodline that's been in the town for a while.
So basically, it would just have to be like your parents would have had to have been here before you were born, if that makes sense.
In the town.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like if like they moved here from their parents or something like that, then that would be fine. It's just basically because the bloodlines they need to be established, kind of to fit. In my experience, whenever they're newer, it gets weird and people try to run each other out of town, and it's not constructive.
Okay.
But like you could be the first like one who's lived here like since
my whole
before
life.
you were born. Yeah.
Okay.
But
okay,
you could still be a Asian water buffalo. Like that's totally reasonable. Because if it's in your family, that makes sense. You might stick out a little bit more.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I'm totally fine with that. Did anyone else have any other questions? Okay. Cool. So let me know when you've decided. And then we'll do a round of introductions so everybody knows who everybody is, and then move from there to the background questions and NPCs and PC relationships.
Sorry, Bree, I did have one question. We must choose a bloodline that is indicated on the town map. That's true?
Yes, but you don't have to have that same last name. Like you can have a different last name, you just have to be related to a bloodline. Is all. So like
Gotcha.
you can be the cousin of the Baldwins, but your last name could be pretty much anything. So you chose Raven, Candy, I know.
Yeah.
Has anyone else, I think, Walter, did you choose the bison?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm going to choose the wallow as my extra beast power.
That's one of my favorites. Bill or John, did you happen to make a decision yet?
I sort of chose an otter just because it seems so absurd with this as a thing for the show off to turn into. Yeah, kind of related as well. But hard time figuring out like which. But I'm almost done. So I just have to choose.
Okay. The otter's a great choice. They're actually really fun, and since we have a lake nearby, it actually makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Bill?
Yeah, I was gonna do cougar.
Awesome. I've been playing a cougar in a game for like a full year now. It's amazing.
I was thinking about the That's Mine secondary move. But the shrieking one sounds pretty awesome. I don't know.
Oh, they're both so good. So I can't really recommend either way. I love both of them. So you can actually, just so you know, use those powers that you mark in either form. So sometimes they come across a little weird. I once had the cougar I play use like basically tag shriek for using the turn die, and it made him a little screechy scary. And so there's a whole crowd of teenagers like, what the hell?
They would shriek as a human. They were just like always shrieking.
Yeah, it can be interesting, I think. But once you guys have decided on your beasts and chosen your secondary power, if you just want to, one of you wants to start, and we'll do introductions. Just basically your character name and pronouns, and your character role and archetype, so human and beast sheet. And then you're going to share the responses to your identity questions. I know we can all read them, but not everyone can see the sheet that will be watching this. So we're just going to... That's a name, pronoun, archetype and role, and identity question responses. And whoever's ready to go first can go ahead and get started.
So I'll go ahead. Yeah, so my player name is Shandy, and I'm going to be playing the Beastborn, who is a raven. My character name is Kite Doe, pronouns he and him, and the look of my character is a masculine figure in human form with short white hair, glasses, and professorial. Kite thinks of himself as stuck between two worlds and unsure which world is the true one. And Kite wishes he could be confident. Did I cover all my bases?
Yes, you did. Great. Who's next?
I could go next.
Great.
So my name is Walter, and I am playing Marcus Pham, who is the heir and a bison. Let's see his description. He's tall and lean, with a serious expression and clean cut. what do you think of yourself? I feel pressured to follow the family business, and I wish I was smart enough to get into a better school. I'm imagining him being attending the local college. What do you wish you could be? I wish I could be a professional DJ. My beast powers are animal group, herd, and wallow.
Awesome.
What's that?
Yeah, I can go. My name is Bill, and my character's name is Adeline Tarot. She, her. Her beast is cougar. She's short and skinny, kind of rough around the edges, I'd say, like kind of worn clothes. She thinks of herself as very capable, but hasn't really been given the opportunity to prove it to herself or to others. She thinks there's something more for her than what's in Rotten. What do you wish you could be? Anything other than a townie. So I'm thinking she's kind of maybe was. I don't know if I'm getting too deep here, but maybe she is from a townie family, but she wants out, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But she's a late bloomer, so I think if it's a recent thing that the shifting thing has happened, I think like any goals about herself and her future are kind of sidelined to figuring out why she's turning into a cougar.
Yeah, generally the turn that's like occurred to make you the late bloomer is within the last like 6 months to a year. So like it's a pretty immediate crisis.
Right.
Don't want you to get too comfortable. Cool, John.
Okay. Let's see. I'm John, and my character name is Mandala. She, her. The bloodline is she's from the Spukoli family up on the north side of town. She's a show off, so she is like has like an extroverted, like extra big personality, really confident about certain things. She's like kind of strong and big and like just kind of like out there. She's very sort of confident, physically confident. Often wears like t-shirt cut open at the top, jeans, shades. She might ride a bike too. So what do you think of yourself? I'm overconfident in many ways, hiding some serious lack of confidence. So she kind of overcompensates in certain ways. And what do you wish you could be? She kind of has a secret desire to be like a powerful lawyer. And she shifts into an otter, which she's still trying to like wrap her head around, like exactly why she's, she correlating, just sort of getting used to that combination. And that's it, I guess. Yeah.
Awesome. If y'all wouldn't mind putting your ages in, just for my reference to the notes, just by your birth month. This is just so I know whenever we start the scene, like what kind of situation is appropriate. Mm-hmm. Let's see. Let me make sure I'm doing everything in order correctly. So the next thing you'll do is fill out your human background questions. And these you can keep just like you kept your other responses kind of short and sweet. That's the best way to go about doing the background questions as well. Stick to key things that, you'll be able to reference and remember what they mean. And that like won't be completely incoherent to me whenever I look at them. I'm trying to see if I have like the like text for the questions, so you don't have to copy them over. Let's see, we have the late bloomer. If you have the there is the text for the beta document that does have the character sheets with text in them that can be copied. And I'm sorry I didn't grab that earlier. Everyone who watches this is going to be like, you forgot everything, Bree. Everything. And let me know if you have any questions about the background questions.
Is our mundane family... I'm the Beastborn, so should my mundane family know my nature?
They typically would. So, like, it's likely they're another shifter family that picked you up. Or a mundane family that's not going to tell anyone.
Gotcha.
But you might have, like, distant family that doesn't know about it, like outside of your immediate family.
So there's other people that can shift in our town of Rotten, right, outside of us, and the things that they can shift into might be outside of the options that we have from the player.
They can
sets.
be, yeah.
Cool.
They can be. It's not like a hard and fast rule for that. It's just kind of a whatever people prefer to do.
Cool.
Let me know if you need any help or have any questions.
After we finish those, should we move on to something else or just wait?
So what we'll do next is we normally do PC and NPC relationship questions in that order. But if you have ideas for your NPCs who are all mundanes who do not know about shifters, those are the hard rules for them. You can go ahead and start writing those down if you'd like to do that. And we can come back to that after PCs and everything.
Okay.
Sorry, you're saying PCs?
Yeah, so you'll have NPC relationships that you track exposure with. And then there will be relationships between the four of you as player characters. that like we'll answer the questions for too. But if you are done with your background questions, you can feel free to fill out those NPC relationships and just let me know if you have any questions. Sorry, I've been so focused that I didn't realize that my husband is still awake. And I looked over, I was like, what are you doing here? So, did anyone have any questions? I'm trying not to talk too much while you're making decisions, but also trying to be present and not have there be dead air. So I apologize.
No, that's fine.
Yeah. Does it ever when people are doing these, do they sometimes talk about their choices out loud, or do they typically just sort of take their time and do it individually and then introduce at the end?
It really depends. I've had groups do both. I'm comfortable with either. I just try not to pressure people to talk about stuff whenever they might not be like super amped about it. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
I ask people to talk a lot and keep a lot of records in this game, so I try to be gentle and pace it out when it comes to like sharing what they're working on. Once everybody is done with their background questions, I'd like to have us share our answers to them with each other.
Okay.
Because that will help to inform the PC relationships typically.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So
I'm already working on my non-player character relationships, and there's one of them I'm having a lot of trouble with. Maybe someone else has some ideas for it.
Sure.
Let's see. So let's see. One of my non-player character relationships that I got is someone who gives you freedom, and I put Gordon, the manager of the college radio station. I seem to recall in 2004 there were still a few college radio stations around, although a lot of them were going off the air at that time. The one I'm having trouble with is someone who used to be proud of you, and I'm kind of having trouble thinking of what that would be.
So I can think of a lot of options, but I don't know if anyone else had any suggestions.
Yeah, I'm all ears if someone has an idea.
Okay. So a couple of thoughts that I would have. You're 20 and you're in college. It could be someone whose class you failed. Or it could be like maybe the person who gave you your first chance at a job right out of high school and instead you're in college. Because that's a weird attitude that some people in small towns have, even ones with colleges.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking maybe I'm like my character has a real aptitude, like a natural aptitude for art, and maybe there was like a high school teacher who kind of like, you know, I like worked with all through high school, and they thought I was going to go on and be like an artist, and they were helping me make a portfolio, and then I like did what my parents wanted. I went to college and I like just started studying business, and I like gave up on art completely. Maybe not totally completely, but like I totally disappointed them.
I think that sounds really good. Like it makes sense and seems to suit your character. So I'll
call her Janice. Oh, maybe I should give her one of the can our teacher have one of the bloodline names? Should I wait?
So long as it's one that's unused, basically.
Okay.
So let me check and see what bloodlines we have in use. So we have the Baldwins. Have somebody.
Nicole.
Of course, sorry. I mistyped something. We have the Baldwins. That one's undiscovered. The fam. And Spicoli. Okay. So basically, any of the ones that aren't currently in use, you are welcome to reference.
Okay, it looks Bill
like
Brown. Bill, did you pick up bloodline?
My character type, what is it called?
Late bloomer.
Late bloomer doesn't choose one. They don't know.
Oh, okay, right.
Yeah. I made my last name Taro, so it's like half of one of the bloodlines. I don't know if I'm jumping. I don't know. I thought that could be interesting.
You could even be part of one bloodline and actually be from another bloodline. We once had like a discovery where like somebody's mom had like died, but then they'd been adopted by someone else and they were secretly from a different bloodline. It was very...
All right.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's awesome.
Riot dramas can still be confusing.
So Hauser hasn't been chosen as a bloodline, so I'll make my NPC Janice Hauser.
Sounds great. Well, that actually makes sense because we had been talking about how that was like a whole bunch of like the like academic people and like teachers and administrators and stuff. So works great. So has everyone else gotten their background questions done? Okay, because I'd like to get those done and then get us to actually playing as soon as we can get some relationships done.
I'm done.
Okay. So since you were done first, Walter, do you want to just share your background question responses real quick?
Yeah. Okay. And I'll skip the NPC ones, right? Because we're not doing that yet.
Yeah, not yet.
So, all right. I kept mine pretty short. Let's see. Background. Where are they? Okay. Is being a shifter in your family a shame or a gift? And I put that it's a gift. And how much of your family's success is due to their shifter powers? I put it's important, but so is our business.
Okay. Shandy, do you want to go next?
Sure thing. So, let's see. My background questions are, how did you find your mundane family? And I put down, Pastor Michael Stramond took me in. The orphanage could never hold me. Maybe he knew my dad. So I envisioned this like this father figure in my life, who's now very, very elderly, was kind of took me in when I was a child, because he tried to divert me to the orphanage, but I could just always fly away whenever I was in the orphanage. And I kind of see myself like as a raven perched outside his window watching TV, learning English. And the second question is, how do you tell people you found your mundane family? And I tend to talk just about my dad, Pastor Michael, even though he's got an ex-wife and another adopted daughter. So I tell people that Michael Stramond is my adopted father, but I don't know anything before that. Even though I lived in the woods for years as an adult crow. I feel like crows, get to adulthood in like a year or so. So, had knowledge of the world as an adult in one form, but I was maybe only a 10-year-old, when I first changed into human.
Mm-hmm. Cool. John, are you ready?
Sure. Let's see. Who have you lost because you went too far? My younger sister. I mocked her until she got a restraining order, and she won't let me into her apartment anymore. And what thrills you most about becoming a beast? The lack of pressure to be cool. You know, when I become an otter, it's just sort of like all stress just kind of shifts off of me, and I just have different desires and different motivations.
Awesome. Cool. Bill?
Yeah. What recent wild encounter brought out your beast? I'm thinking a life or death encounter with an American alligator while on Falling Leaf Lake. Hanging out there, ran into an alligator, and I turned into a cougar. How do you explain your absences to people you know? Either working late or up early in the morning cutting the grass at the Rotten Range, which I think is the golf driving range.
Oh gosh, I love it. Awesome. Great. So the next thing we do is do our PC relationships, which should be on your sheets. And you want to try and keep them simple. You don't actually need to fill in the blanks now. But the way we do it is each of you will just say one of yours and say if you have someone in mind or ask if someone wants to do it to be that relationship connection for you. So like if you had the overachiever, you know, you'd either say, I think that this person has helped me without expecting reciprocity, or you say, who have I helped? And allow people to volunteer themselves, whichever you're more comfortable with. But knowing what you do about the other characters, you might have somebody in mind already. And if it's okay, Bill, we'll start with you. You're muted.
Sorry, guys. Yes, sure. Honestly, I haven't really looked at these yet because I was looking at the non-player character relationship, but I'll just throw it out there. Is that okay? Or do you want to hop to someone else?
If you're ready to go, we can go. Otherwise, we can hop around.
I'll just go. Who found you when you turned the first time? I feel like that would be either Mandala or Kite. Just because I'm thinking of myself as a local, and maybe you guys, and like a poor local, and I feel like Marcus is not that. What do you guys think?
And it's who did what when you first turned?
It is who found you when you turned the first time. So this is me fighting the alligator, or not fighting, whatever, having a run-in with the alligator on Fallen Leaf Lake. Someone else maybe was there and saw it happen.
That could be.
Yeah, I was flying by. I remember that.
Great.
That ornery alligator. Gotta watch out for them.
Cool.
So this isn't actually a huge concern, but I have no idea if alligators can live in the Northeast.
I Googled threats, dangerous animals in the Northeast, and that came up, but I really don't know.
If that works, but I'm not super concerned. I was just like, is that a thing? So yeah. Okay, cool. So then we'll go to the next person with their first one on the list. So I have John is in my little path here.
Sure. Let's see. Who is tired of your antics? I think probably anybody would be tired of my antics. Maybe. Well,
I could imagine Marcus is maybe comes off as being really annoyed by your antics, but like secretly, it like the reason it bothers him is because he wishes he had like the freedom to like, you know, be as like expressive and like, you know, kind of outgoing and crazy as you are. But it just pisses him off kind of because you know, he like hasn't really come to grips with that.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking that would be a good one. That came to my mind too. So that would be great.
Okay. Then that'd be Shandy next.
Yeah, so I feel like I got a gimme there. One of my PC questions is, who did you help make peace with their beast when they lost control? So I feel like clearly that was Adeline, that time with the alligator, you know, shocking herself into, you know, what she truly was, and dealing with like a mortal threat perhaps, and me being kind of confused because I'm coming from the other end of things. Like I've always been able to be a beast. That's always been, you know, my norm. It's only later that I became aware of like my ability to change into a human. So I feel like there was some bonding that happened there. Like we're both approaching this who we are from opposite sides. And then who have you disappointed by not showing up? I feel like Marcus is probably somebody that's been disappointed by me. Maybe I made some commitment, but got too busy flying around town. It's fun to fly, so I forgot entirely about the human concern that I agreed to.
Cool. Is that okay?
I can see that. Sure.
Awesome. We will come back to John and Bill to get the other two questions. But Walter, did you have one chosen?
Let's see. Yeah. So let's see. So I have one. Who have you saved with your knowledge of shifter lore? And I'm thinking that could maybe be either Adeline, because you know Adeline like just doesn't really understand much about shifters, and you know, and I like come from a family that's really integrated, sort of, you know, being a shifter with our human side. So I think I probably have been able to, you know, kind of share that with Adeline, like how to you know, be a most is also, you know, very at peace with being a shifter, and give an Adeline perspective on that.
Yeah, I like it. I like it.
Cool.
Can I tag on to that? I don't mean to go in a
Yep, go ahead. Go ahead.
And I don't know if it's a good idea to sort of like pair up stuff, but maybe Marcus could match my other one, which is, who have you wielded your social status as a weapon against? And that did you say that Marcus is from another town? Or he's his family's new to the area? Did you say that at the beginning?
I changed my mind about that. I mean, his family's maybe relatively new. I think his family probably moved here from Vietnam in like the, you know, late 70s, and he was born here, so he's like been here his whole life. But his family's, you know, by like small Northeast town standards, his family's still the new family for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't know. So like, I'm thinking Adeline's on the lower end of the wealth spectrum, but her family's been there for forever, so maybe there's something there that can work, where I don't want to get into like a weird racist area, but like doesn't
it's totally legit to say that, you know, there's prejudice in the town and that you capitalized on that at some point.
Yeah.
I ask that we don't play out racism or anything like that, but like, definitely, it happens. It's a legitimate thing. So long as the other players are comfortable with that being, you know, a reason for something to have happened, is there being prejudice, then it's okay.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have strong feelings about it. If anyone has any other ideas, I can totally.
I mean, even just having been the people who have been around the town longer, like if your family's been here for longer or something,
yeah,
that alone is like justification to like maybe make Marcus feel alienated.
Right. Yeah.
And like it can be a type of privilege to be like a family that's been here a long time, that's established and everything. Maybe your family, you think your family, for all you know, they've supposedly been around since the town was founded, kind of thing.
Right.
So, yeah, that I think that is okay. Is that okay with you, Walter?
Yeah, that makes sense. So Adeline's family. Now, was it Adeline or Adeline's family kind of used their like influence and status against me or my family? Is it a family thing or is it a very personal thing, like your character to my character?
I was thinking my character to your character, but I like the idea of the family thing. It says the text is, "Who have you wielded your social status as well?"
Okay.
Me.
It's meant mostly as an individual thing, but it might be unintentional. Like I had one where it was like, well, obviously I used mine against her. I'm a dude. And so like it can be a little mutable there. Okay.
Okay.
All right. John, did you have your other?
Yeah, I was thinking that who can you count on to have your back? I was thinking Kite Doe, the Beastborn Raven, because just feels kind of badass like me on some level, and as shifted, if it's in a shifted form, we're both sort of smaller animals and kind of look out for one another in that way.
Yeah.
Awesome. And Walter, I think you had one relationship. Is that right? Or did I get lost?
Sorry, I was on mute. Yeah, I do have one more to do, and I haven't thought of anybody. So if somebody else wants to chime in, who has been hurt by your family? So my family hurt someone. The first thing that comes to my mind as like a hook is I'm imagining my family is like very business oriented and like probably like very like motivated, maybe a bit even to really like become a success in a short amount of time. So I can imagine maybe like my family's business, like kind of stepped on somebody else's family or something as they were like, becoming established and, like competitively or something. Maybe put somebody else's family out of work or something. I don't know.
So I'm stepping in because that made me curious about. John talked about Mandela being a little bit more rough around the edges. And so did Bill talk about Adeline in that kind of fashion where like they're a little bit tougher. And so either of them might be good options for like who might be. I think that Mandela might be a really good option as someone who's kind of like not businesslike enough and not professional enough and not serious enough for your family, and how that could have maybe spilled over a little.
Yeah, actually, maybe
if that would be okay. I'm just throwing out ideas.
Yeah, actually, Mandala, maybe you like worked for my father at some point in my family's business, and you like got like laid off or something under like bad circumstances, and that how does that sound?
Yeah.
Awesome. I think that's all of our PC relationships. Let's see. I'm just looking over the NPCs that y'all have written down. I think all of you but one have everything finished up.
Yeah, I was having trouble.
Yeah, can I help you with it?
Sure. It's the person I take care of.
So this is it can be anything from like someone you keep from getting bullied, or like someone that you're always there for whenever they have like an emotional crisis, or some people have had it like their ailing family members that they were caring for. But how old is your character?
Young, 17.
Okay, good. You're at least over my minimum cap that I forgot to announce.
Oh, really? Oh.
I have you have to be over the age of consent in the average state, so it's like 16 and up.
Okay.
It's just for like violence and sex and all that stuff. If it ever comes up in this game, it doesn't super come up often, but when it does, I'd prefer to have characters that are older. But this works fun. What I could see is maybe if you have like maybe someone you know at school or something that's like you're close friend with, and that like is maybe a little more emotionally fragile. Something
Guys,
like
just to interrupt, I'm gonna take a quick break for a second. I have to just like walk my dog around the block for a second.
That's totally fine. I was actually about to take a 5-minute break after this, so if you want to go ahead and go now while we're finishing this up.
Yeah, that's great.
That sounds fine.
Cool. I might go like an ailing family, an aging family member, because my other relationship is like a colleague or someone that I'm thinking is my age that could fill that sort of friend role.
Okay. So maybe would you want to have it be like you could have any kind of family member, honestly. Because you're a late bloomer, which means your family members don't know typically. The other roles, it's a little bit shakier with family a lot of the time. So
maybe very like a grandmother or like a grandparent who really wouldn't understand if I tried to, I don't know, try to talk to her about it or something like that.
I'm
No?
actually going to I got bad news about my grandmother today.
Oh, really?
Out of character. It's not your fault. But if we could maybe great aunt or something like that, like slightly different tack, just to make it not specifically grandmother, is all I ask.
Yeah. Great uncle. That great uncle.
That sounds great. Yeah. Sorry about that.
Oh no, it's Great Uncle Taro.
Awesome. If anyone else is already done with their NPCs and wants to take a 5-minute break,
that sounds good.
We'll just, the only thing we have left is to assign the points from habits, but I think most of you have done that already. So then we're ready to start play. And I am sorry that we don't have a ton more time, but unfortunately my getting sick slows everything down.
Okay, I'll be back in a bit.
Great.
Hey, Bree,
Yes.
did you have any particular like inspirations or like, you know, like media sources that inspired this game for you?
No, actually, nothing in particular. And I've actually been seeking media sources to give to people for examples for about 3 years now, and haven't found anything that quite works. The tone of the game is a lot more low key than most television and movies and stuff. And I personally have some a struggle with reading, particularly in large volumes. So I don't read a lot of novels or anything. But it's mostly I like shapeshifters like as a concept. And I grew up in a small town and have a lot of feelings about it. So I just kind of, I don't know, took bits and pieces, like, I guess from the overarching ether and paired it together into what I liked. Does it seem like anything?
Nice. I don't know. No, I can't think of anything. I mean, it seems like a very clear concept though. Like you describe it, and it immediately I feel like I can imagine it. Like, okay, yeah, I can see that. But no, I can't think of anything in particular.
Yeah, I've even been like looking for documentaries on animals and stuff like that, so I had something to recommend with the book. Because I'm kickstarting it in like literally like 2 weeks, and
Oh, cool.
yeah, I'm so excited to put it out there. But people keep on looking for like, well, how should I play it? Like, what should I play it like what movie, what TV show? And I'm like, I don't know. I tried watching, I think I'm up to 10 shows that I've tried to watch. And if I haven't had to shut them off because they're terrible, it's because they have like massive trigger warnings and are too intense and all this stuff. And I don't know. It's a slower paced game. It's meant for long play. So that's why I'm a little scrambly to do the one shot. This is one shots for are different. And obviously it takes, even with me halfway setting up the town, like it takes a lot longer to do than I thought it would, you know? Because I've only one-shotted this at a con one other time. And it's, I don't know, it's a weird game, but I love it. We've been playing, so I've actually played in like 3 or 4 different games of it because I normally have my husband John run, and I have played in one of the games for over a year, I think, at this point, and it's my favorite game I've ever played. I enjoy it more than anything. Don't enjoy GMing it that much, but I at least can, which is saying something compared to most games.
If it helps at all, I was kind of getting a bit of a Teen Wolf vibe.
Teen Wolf is probably the closest to it. There's just a lot more violence in Teen Wolf than Turn. Sure. I actually didn't talk to y'all about the combat system at all because most of the time in shorter games it doesn't come up. It's very simple and very serious. So. But yeah, Teen Wolf at least has the right kind of like vibe, I guess. I don't know how the emo vibe.
Sure, yeah. I felt with the air. I mean, I don't think this is from the game. I think this is from us playing. But like Marcus, was it the Marcus character? I was getting like a strong kind of like Teen Wolf kind of vibe from.
I can see that, yeah. Yeah, like first season Teen Wolf. Yeah. I can see that. The biggest problem with genre shows is it goes from like 0 to 10,000 in every show. so fast. And in turn, like the session that I ran at BadCon, people mostly just had silly arguments while having minor property damage. Then chased each other around in the fog. Like, it was really super chill and like a low-key kind of thing. And I mean, we've had one death in a year and a half almost long game. And that was when my character, it wasn't even in the actual play, it was in backstory for whenever my character first turned. He didn't really realize the strength that he had whenever he turned for the first time. He was a late bloomer and super ganked a guy who was a drunk driver who hit him while he was out, basically, and kind of like ate him and hid the body and stuff. So, you know, that was it. That was the one thing. And he still might get cut for it, is the amazing part. It's been ages and it's never come up. And then in the last session, they suddenly were talking about finding bones and shit. And we're all like,
nice. Yeah, that seems like a great piece of backstory that way.
Yeah.
How would you compare it at all to Monster Hearts?
So Monster Hearts was actually a large part of the reason why Turn exists. I played Monster Hearts and it just was not hitting the buttons that I wanted it to. Like something about it just wasn't quite right. And I knew a couple of the things, like I wanted to be playing adults and I wanted to be playing, you know, in a small town and stuff like that. Like, so I just started building game. I started designing this in 2013. You can see some touches of Monster Hearts in it, I would imagine. Like, we do use 2d6, even though there's a third die that's optional. And there are stats and stuff like that. And, like, moves, the struggles are technically, like, a very different interpretation of moves. There's the scaled difficulty. But in my experience, playing Monster Hearts is completely different from playing Turn. Monster Hearts is a really high drama. And it also can be a little mean. And I actually wrote a blog post not long ago about what happened when I started playing Monster Hearts after I'd played Turn. I've played Monster Hearts a fair bit, and it's always been like that inches from like going into a complete explosion kind of situation, like really hyper, really vicious at times, stuff like that. But then I played Turn, and I played it for a while, and I played it with my partner, and I played it with Kit Latouche, and then Kit ran Monster Hearts for me and my partner and one of our friends. And this friend of ours is someone who has a capacity for great squishiness. Just like, just like being emotional and caring and stuff. And after like, I don't know, 2 sessions in, everybody was just like, what is going on? Like, we are not playing this right. Like, we're like being friends and like talking to each other and being caring and all this stuff. And like, we weren't fighting, we weren't being catty. And like, it was so weird. And like, it really felt like just because we had all played something so different in the same kind of space-ish, that it had altered our behaviors. I don't know. I like to think that playing a couple of sessions of Turn can change the way people think about some things. Probably nice. Better when they play it GM'd by somebody who's not a complete disaster. But, you know.
You're doing great.
Thanks.
Yeah. It also helps give like a guide. I mean, I'm wondering, you know, how would like if I wanted to try and run this with some friends, what would I aim for? Especially since it looks like we're not going to get, you know, a whole lot of like duration to our play tonight.
I'm very sorry about that. I've been trying to shorten it so it's better for one-shots, and I honestly thought that it would be better this time, but with me feeling sick, I'm just way slower and like, because we got almost like an hour and a half to 2 hours of play out of it without building the town at all ahead of time. Like, so why we built the town and built characters and everything and still had like an hour and a half, 2 hours of play on Friday night at Big Bad Con. So it has to be that I'm not feeling well and stuff that's really slowing this down. Because it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be.
I wonder
like
if it's
only
also
an hour left.
I wonder if it's also the online. I feel like the sitting around a table, like physically around a table, like the energy kind of bubbles up a little bit more than it does when it's online.
Yeah. And I mean, like, I've run online, but not typically live. And typically like with people I'm more familiar with. So like anxiety definitely like and feeling unprepared because of anxiety. So I'm disorganized and stuff. It plays a part. I think
and I'll copy some of those same feelings, Bree. Like, this is my very first time playing online, so I'm a little bit gun shy. So
I do truly wish you had gotten a game where you got more play in.
No, this is cool.
But depending on how it all goes, and if you all enjoy what play you do, I'd be happy to like pick up another like session to play a full session out for you at a later date. Because I don't want to like not let you get to play.
Cool. I really enjoyed the character creation process. Like, I just doing all the relationships and listening to everybody talk about their characters. Like, I already feel like we've got a really interesting group of characters and interesting relationships between them. So, you know, I'm fascinated to see, like, you know, how this would play out.
Yeah, character creation, world creation is definitely play.
I'm glad that y'all think so.
It's one of my favorite parts too of these types of games. I like the map building because sometimes, depending on the game, you don't get to do that kind of stuff, and I like that part of it. And the bloodline portion is interesting too, like deciding the names of people that are there.
I'm glad you like it. As soon as John gets back, we'll start playing. But I do appreciate you all talking to me and everything in the meantime, because I really love Turn. It's like my favorite game, and I've worked really hard on it. And I'm this close to the Kickstarter. it's so close, and I feel like I'm gonna die. So it's good to hear that even though it's not going quite as planned, it's not the worst thing.
What's the Kickstarter like goal? Is it a raise for art? Is it a raise for just like production?
So the Kickstarter will fund printing, art, and some like layout and editing. And aside from that, it's like that's about it. It's I have an artist hired already and have scrounged together some bucks to get some art for the Kickstarter. And I have a visual artist for the beasts. I have a visual artist for the humans. And then I have a poet that is doing poetry for each chapter and the start and end of the book. And the poet is AJ Odasso, who is my favorite poet, and also grew up and spent time as a child around some of the same places that I grew up as a kid. So their poetry kind of hits a lot of the most important notes for me when it comes to the whole of the game. Like I felt like something was missing for the longest time. And then like I found one of their pieces and I was like, oh my gosh, that's it. That's what I'm missing. And they had like even written it like before they talked to me, and they were just like, I only had to change like one word, and it's exactly what you were asking for. And so, like, I'm so excited because it's a massively important project to me, and having their words attached to it makes it feel real. And I hope when people see AJ's work, like they'll understand. Everyone who has seen it so far that I've shown has just been like, oh my gosh, I see now. I understand. This is why you want poetry in your book. So
this is poetry associated with these game rules?
Yes. There's going to be, hopefully on every chapter, but at least for sure, at the start and the end of the game book, there are going to be poems by AJ Odasso, who is an independent poet.
That's very cool. That's exciting.
Yeah, it's it means so much to me, and the art's really amazing. We just got like the most recent versions of it for approval, and they look super good, and I'm super excited.
Nice. I can't wait to see it.
It'll be soon. If all goes well, October 31st, Kickstarter goes up.
Wow.
So, all right. And now that everyone's back.
Yeah, sorry for that.
No, it's totally okay. Absolutely okay. Everybody's got stuff to do, and pets come first.
Yeah. They do indeed.
So the remaining things that we have to do are very simple. They are to ensure that you assign your habits stats on your human role sheet, which is just you assign 1 point to that. And then just look over your goals and your abilities and powers to make sure you know what's going on. And then we're going to do rumors and get going. So while you're looking over your stuff, think of the town that we've built and the people that are in it. And think of a rumor that might be happening just right now, the day of the Punkin Chunkin event.
Do we say it?
Yes.
So I've got an idea that the rumor is the amusement park was not bought to revive the amusement park, but actually to bulldoze it, and along with it, the next parcel of land over that's between the amusement park and the lake, to have some lakefront condos built.
My.
Nice.
Oh, gosh. It's so stressful. Love it. Anyone else who happens to have one, may speak up.
Another rumor?
Yeah.
This would be an
Everybody gets to
alternative, or just like we all get to contribute? Okay, so we all get to contribute our own rumor.
Yes.
So we can build a bunch. Ooh, okay.
Yeah, every session, at the start of the session, you introduce rumors, and then you either kind of try and remember them going forward or let them fall to the wayside, and they come up later whenever you're like, oh my gosh, do you remember that rumor we had like 6 sessions ago? I think it's come true. It's so good.
And these are just rumors, not tied to any other things, just something we tied to things in the town, but not to any of our abilities or our characters per se.
No, you can make them related to your character if you want to. If you want to see something happen for your character or another character, like, so long as they're okay with it, like, and it doesn't violate their consent. We can, have stuff that's like, I don't know, I heard that everyone's talking about how one of the characters has a new boyfriend and they might be leaving town. Like, stuff like that is also totally welcome. But also drama around the town and about the town that has to do with the themes and places is also great. Sorry, my cat just jumped up on me. Well, one of my cats. Hi, buddy.
I've heard that the Guff-Taro boys are going to come to the pumpkin. What's it called again? The event?
Pumpkin
Chunkin'.
Chunkin'.
Oh, the Guff-Taro boys, they're the Rowdy family?
Yeah, that's what I'm throwing out there, if that's all right.
Nice.
Are going to come and chunk all those pumpkins early. Is that what it is? They smash pumpkins? So that's the...
Yeah, so what is typically done is people build guns that shoot them, but they also, like, sometimes people just, like, get the rotten ones and stomp on them and stuff like that. It's basically just destroying pumpkins 110. It's great. It's also extremely dangerous, and there's, like, a huge pumpkin chunkin' event that's had to be, like, repeatedly shut down because people got killed. So, I think that they're really messed up and weird, so I wanted to include one.
Yeah. I'm trying to think what they could do that would be bad. Yeah, go ahead.
I want a rumor about the alligator, and I'm trying to think what it is. I think maybe the like the zoo in kind of the next town over, not this local zoo, but like in the next county, it's sort of like they finally admitted that they've lost count of their alligators, and there seems to be one missing. And this actually happened months ago, but they're like, they're kind of like just admitting it now.
I love it. They did it like literally. This has to have been what, like 3 or 4 months ago. Oh my goodness, that's such a disaster. Right. I think we still need from Bill, and then I'll add one to the end of that.
Or from John, I think.
Oh, John, I'm sorry.
I'm last. I was gonna say I want something with this like kind of older fancy golf club set, like a rumor that she
Uh-oh.
at the snack bar at the golf club that the people talking about how they're not sure about the ingredients in some of the restaurants, some of these Asian restaurants that have moved into town.
Oh, so are they like spreading crappy rumors?
Yeah.
Like, are they doing that? Are they gossiping? Those
Wait,
bastards.
Who is this?
People that
Who's
work
spreading this gossip?
The golf players, the older set, the sort of like fancy-ish golf players sitting around the snack bar. We're talking about this.
So they have a question. They're saying they have questionable menus. Is what I'll put here just for my reference.
Questionable ingredients on their menus. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, and I'm just gonna do one last glance at that. I think that there's a I'm gonna kind of be pulling from the guests in a different translation a little bit. There's been some pest animals effectively moving into town a bit, particularly a big bullying band of raccoons has seemingly relocated from a neighboring town and has been disrupting basically everyone's space.
Nice.
So funny how we didn't do any rumor. You were the only one that did a rumor about like the animal side.
That's pretty normal. It changes over time, most of the time, but initially people do like really, think about their human space a lot because your human space is important and it does take up a lot of your time and energy. So, but over time, the beasts, come out to play a bit more. So with that in mind, did anyone have any questions before we get started? I just want to make sure I cover. Okay. So make sure that you have your character sheets up and you're ready to go. Today is the day. It is the day of the Pumpkin Chunkin event. That's what it is. And did John just leave suddenly?
No.
Okay. I was like, was it that offensive? So today is the day of the Pumpkin Chunkin event, and all of you have various reasons why you're supposed to be helping out or participating, or maybe you want to do it, maybe you don't want to do it. But the first question I have to ask is, who is currently at, I don't know, let's say 9 a.m. on this Saturday? Who is currently in beast form?
Kite is in beast form as a raven.
Okay. More than one of you can be. I'm
trying to think when. So I'm in cougar form, mainly at dawn and dusk. Is 9 dawn? No, that's too late. So I will be back.
It'd be the trailing ends of dawn, this time of year. Because keep in mind it's fall. So
right, yeah. So I'll be beast form too. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not in beast form. I'm in badass form on my giant gull wing motorcycle.
Are you gonna put the punk in pumpkin? I love it. What about you, Marcus?
Marcus is still in bed because Marcus was up really late last night. So Marcus is asleep at 9 in the morning on a Saturday.
A dream. So the event itself starts at 11 a.m. And in the meantime, I'm gonna ask a couple of questions of each of you, but we're gonna start by addressing some of those discovering turn questions that happen whenever someone has turned. So basically, the first time someone's in a form that isn't the standard form is when we ask these questions. And there are 3 questions. So I'm going to ask the 2 of you who have said that you are in beast form what your answers are for these. So the first time someone turns, what does it feel like?
So I'll go.
Okay,
yeah, I think. Sorry. Yeah, I also say great. Kite loves to fly and is just having a great day. He's with his flock, and they're all kind of like perched in the tall trees because they know something's going to happen with those pumpkins, and maybe there's going to be some food to be had.
Nice.
Free food.
Nice. So it always feels freeing and satisfactory. How does it impact your body? Like, is this one of those, is it like a Teen Wolf turn, or is it like American Werewolf in London turn? Like, how's the crunch level? And those of you who aren't turned, or if you have a preference, it's okay to comment as well.
Bill, do you want to take this one?
Sure. I mean, I'm imagining it being a pretty smooth transition, like not a lot of crunch, or if there's crunch, I think it is if the bones are changing, but it's a real smooth. And I'm just imagining the cougar fur like puffing. It's a beautiful turn. I think there's something a bit graceful about it. Even with being so new for Adeline, there's something, it feels natural.
Cool. And the last question, everyone gets to weigh in on this one, especially because it is important to the context. Do you take anything with you or bring anything back? This is the question that decides whether your clothes go with you when you change, when you turn from one form to the other, and stuff like that. Like, is it everything on your person, or is it just what's touching your skin, or...
Oh, this is something we all agree on. This is something that holds for everybody the same.
Yes. Yeah.
I like that we actually keep like some of our basic things, like our clothes and maybe even small items that we have on us, transform with us. That they just kind of like meld and disappear as we become an animal.
Yeah, I like the magical Dracula turning into a bat style.
Yeah.
And then it all just comes back onto us normally when we regenerate in the other way.
Yeah.
Sounds great. Awesome. Great. So, now that we've asked those questions, who is currently causing trouble in Kite's flock's territory?
So I like that rumor about the raccoon, but the raccoons were like in town. Was that the gist of the rumor? I think we got it written down somewhere.
They're just the town encompasses. Whenever I say in town, I generally mean like the whole of the landmass that your town encompasses. So not necessarily where the buildings are. Can be like in the forests and stuff. Everywhere is the town, basically. So
I'm going with the raccoons. I feel like the raccoons have been getting into the garbage, and the flock doesn't like finding tasty morsels when there's bigger mammals in there, and it's just like we have to wait our turn, and we usually have the pick of the garbage, but all these raccoons are a real crimp in our style.
Right. So, do you ever consider enlisting the help of, maybe some of your bigger, scarier friends to deal with this raccoon problem?
Yeah, I think it's just a matter of biding our time until we know when the restaurants have their garbage days. So next garbage day, I think it's coming up real soon. We're gonna have somebody laying in wait to shoo away those raccoons. We just have to think of something to offer. We haven't quite figured it out.
All right. So, if you're, thinking of the day that's planned ahead, why do you, as a human, have to go to the Pumpkin Chunkin event?
This is a question for Kite?
Yes.
Kite wants to look out for Adeline, this newly bonded friend who, with that alligator business, just wants to keep an eye out and wants to be able to be a human, to be able to keep an eye out for Adeline as well.
Okay. So currently the raccoons are kind of causing some fuss. One thing I would like you all to do right now is on your stress tracks, mark that you already have 2 stress marks on each of your forms.
This is everybody.
Everybody. This is just to give a little bit more pressure for the short session. Oh, sorry. So you know that you want to go and help Adeline. But your flock has some expectations of you that you're going to help deal with this raccoon problem. Like, they're really expecting you to, like, be there and, like, help them chase these critters off, right? Because right now they're getting into your snacks. They're getting into your space. They're climbing up trees. They're being a heck of a nuisance. So, I'm going to, I'm just going to present the question of, are you willing to just go whenever the time comes to go to the event? And does the beast in you feel comfortable with that?
The beast doesn't feel comfortable, but you know, I've started to grow a little bit tired by the flock relying on me so much. Just because I'm the eldest member of the flock, they're always looking to me to like solve their problems for them. And you know what? If I wanted to be out solving problems, you know, for people, I would be a person. You know, like I get enough of that in the human domain. You know, I'm a bird to fly. I'm not a bird to like make sure everybody gets fed. So I'm just of that attitude today, and you know, I'm prepared to let them deal with the raccoons on their own today.
All right. With that kind of attitude, you don't have to fight between your 2 sides, and you should be able to prioritize on your own without struggling.
Is that cheating?
What's that?
Is that cheating?
No.
Okay.
The amazing thing is that if you can manage to make your human side and your beast side make sense together, you can just do the thing. So you will be able to get out of here in time to go.
Okay.
We'll get to Adeline in a minute. So what are our 2 humans doing? You're sleeping, right?
I think Marcus is gonna be kind of late to the pumpkin thing. He's just gonna he's gonna show up, but he might even miss the main festivities. He'll just kind of get there at the end to like meet his friends. Unless that's gonna be in the way of what you had in mind. You can totally get there earlier if you had something in mind.
Oh no, I'm just wondering if you may have to kind of have restraint to be like, the heir's a very responsible human in general. You have priorities and like responsibilities to your family that you have to keep up with. And this feels like maybe leaning a little bit into your lazy buffalo heart and wanting to chill out and not have responsibilities.
Yeah.
So one of the struggles is called have restraint. And this is about whenever you don't necessarily have to be changing to be giving in to your beast side. Just the behaviors of lazing around and ignoring your responsibilities because you want to wallow a bit is something that can cause that struggle to come into effect.
Okay.
So would you be able to roll for this? You can't use the turn die. So you'd roll 2d6.
Okay. Do you know if I can roll in the chat window?
I have no idea. You could try.
Sometimes you can, but I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I always use roll for your party. which I could get us a roll for your party.
Before.
It doesn't look like it's working.
Oh no, not the way I'm doing it now. Anyway.
Let me just.
Yeah, roll for party would be good. Okay, I'll go to the roll for party. Right.
Yeah, I don't know how the thing works here.
I'm pretty sure I've done it in the window before, but it's not working now. All right, roll for party. So 2d6 then.
Yes.
All right, I got a 7.
Okay. On a 7 to 9, you mark stress, actually.
Okay.
Because what's happening right now is you are kind of letting that bison side of you
so I mark
chill out a
human
bit.
stress or beast stress?
Yep. Human stress. Because that's a form you're in.
Okay.
And now basically what is happening is kind of the pressure is on for you a little bit. This doesn't force you to turn until you hit the end of the thing. This is just basically saying you have responsibilities that you should be taking care of as a human, but instead you're being a lazy bison and staying in bed.
Yeah. Are you counting the going to the pumpkin chunkin as the responsibility?
Yeah. Because we all have human responsibilities, and I would imagine for your family, you're at least supposed to show up.
To the pumpkin chunkin? Is this like a community event or something? Or okay.
It's like a big community event. It's the first one after they had to go through all the insurance snafus, and it's where they're reopening the park, so that's a pretty big deal.
Okay.
So
everybody's showing up. Like the mayor's going to be cutting a ribbon or something. It's going to be one of those kind of things.
Basically.
Okay.
And your family's kind of a big deal. That's
it's
definitely
they're planning to make some money on this. Okay. All right, I can see that. Yeah. I'm probably struggling to drag myself out of bed, but I'm really hitting it because I was up playing records too late last night.
And you totally can still sleep in and show up late, and it'll go as it goes. But you just get a little stressed about it.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds right.
We will we'll revisit your napping status.
Sounds good.
So what is Mandala up to?
Mandala has been going down the main drag, just like really revving her engine and just like making all this noise, just really extending it, getting the most out of it, like looking around at people, like letting people look at her. She comes down the main drag and she's going to the Pumpkin Chunkin to meet up with her friend Wally G. To just they were going to just get together early on in the day there and just kind of maybe have a secret beer, just kind of bullshit for a while. So she's kind of cruising by, coming up to the fairgrounds, and she actually uses a little bit of extra strength to like lift her bike up and pop a wheelie as she's coming into the fairgrounds, and then bounces down and then like spins it and then puts the kickstand down and looks around.
Awesome. So whenever you do this, you use your extra strength. Doing something like that requires a bit of finesse, right? I think that maybe you might have to tread softly so you don't just make your bike go up way too high and like totally reveal yourself.
Right.
You totally do it and it looks awesome, but it depends on to what degree maybe and whether anyone notices. So would you mind rolling me 2d6?
Sure.
For this, you can, if you have an applicable power on your otter sheet or anything, mark the use the turn die and mark stress, but that's up to you.
Let's see. Oh, I see. I get it. Right. So I could add a stress to my human side to get another die.
Yeah, so long as you can justify it with one of your powers on your opposite sheet, so your beast sheet.
Oh wow, oh, that's cool. Oh, that's not my beast sheet. Immoral, honest, primal. Immoral. Yeah, no, no, I don't think so. So,
okay. So just roll the 2d6 then. And this is for tread softly, which is on the human form. So you'll be rolling that and then subtracting your forceful stat.
Okay, subtracting. Okay, so that is forceful is.
It's on your beast sheet.
Beast sheet. 1. Oh no, that's not. That's bison. 0.
All right, then you just, it's just what's on the dice.
4.
Did you say 4?
Uh-huh.
Well.
Uh-oh.
Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to answer the questions that we answer whenever someone risks exposure for the first time, because that's what you just did. 3. It's actually 2 quick questions. So the first one is, what happened the last time a shifter was exposed, if this has ever happened before? Anyone can contribute to this question.
What happened when what happened when? Sorry.
The last time a shifter was exposed.
Oh.
I have a feeling that the kind of the default thing that happens is just like that, like cognitive dissonance or whatever, or like this kind of like blindness where people just sort of pretend it's not really happening because they just can't, like most people just can't process it, and so people tend to kind of overlook it or like talk themselves out of it, like it convince themselves it never happened.
So like, what if somebody got like the full way exposed, like completely revealed to the town? Has that happened before? Was it just written off as a cryptid?
Or rumors abound? No cell phone video yet, though?
Yeah, it was a while ago this happened.
Yeah. Well, there was that Sasquatch video, but it was really blurry.
That totally makes sense.
And what about that shifter? Like, what happened to them? How did the community treat them afterwards? I feel like they made a big mistake and put us all at risk.
Yeah.
So there's some consequences. Shunning?
Shunning is a possibility.
Move out of town, maybe?
Well, that makes it interesting step into the next question. It is clear that shifters cannot leave the town. So what happened to the last shifter that tried? Any ideas?
I have this half-formed idea that there's like kind of the same power that makes us shifters. It also it's this like weird, like I don't know, like bubble around the town that's kind of hard to get out of. Like we have control over our ability to shift as long as we stay near the town for some reason, but as soon as we get too far away, we kind of like lose control, or it's like some weird supernatural force takes over, and it's very unpleasant.
Wow. Like a radio controlled collar, sort of.
Mm-hmm.
I think that framing it as something like maybe you don't lose control, but like it's harder. It's just like even more difficult to be not stressed out and stuff. Just to avoid the loss of agency that comes with lose control. Does that sound okay?
Yeah.
Right. So, whenever you do this with your bike, it's super cool. That's very true. You definitely lift that bike up. You do mark stress. And this would be on your human form. You will mark exposure. But so how does like the beast in you like show a little bit? And this can be behavioral, it can be something mildly physical, like stuff like that. But it's something very small that, you know, might be caught by people.
Awesome. Let's see. With your romp on your side, you can have a really good time doing reckless things. So I think that, yeah, like I would somehow make it funny. People would have a strange feeling of like actually kind of like laughing and sort of like smiling and, oh, there she goes again. Even though I'm potentially like really hurting myself.
Yeah. Yeah. That seems like such an uncharacteristic response to your character on the daily kind of thing. So I think you actually do mark positive exposure with the town. So you'll just put a plus sign next to your town exposure. And the last thing is you cause some kind of collateral damage.
Yeah.
So you do this sweet wheelie, basically. What do you damage in the process? It doesn't have to be something huge, but it should make sense for what you're doing.
I think that I slide into a big pile of pumpkins that were like on a pallet, ready to be, you know, for another wave of pumpkin chunking. And I just smash up a few of them and tumble a bunch onto the street.
Amazing. I love it. So you have arrived.
Yeah, which is like, right. Somehow I turned my failed wheelie into like an even better thing.
Yeah. Some people are actually like super amped by what you've done. Like your friend who like shows up a little bit later is like totally into it. And those what are they, Guff Tarot boys? Yeah, they're there and they're enthused. And you get the impression that they might want to talk to you now. Which might be mixed overall.
Of mixed appeal.
Yeah. So we're gonna catch up real quick here to Adeline and see where the cougar is.
Yeah. So I think I'm just coming back from a hunt, which is something that Adeline doesn't do in her human form, but is something that she's now started to do as a cougar. And maybe she's gotten a raccoon or two of that have been in the area. And I think she's taken the long way back to the little cottage that she lives in with Uncle Tar, and she's kind of creeping by Fallen Leaf Lake, because right now she's kind of suspecting that the alligator had something to do with giving her the ability to change into this cougar. So I think she's scared, but she's also, determined. So she's kind of creeping around the lake, sort of just seeing if she can see the alligator, if there's anything weird going on there that might, I don't know, she's investigating.
So, okay. So why were you supposed to be at the Pumpkin Chunkin event?
I think the Rotten Range is setting up like a swing the pumpkin thing where they set up a bunch of pumpkins and you hit them with golf clubs. And so she needs to go there and help set that all up. But maybe she's supposed to be there at like noon or something to get that ready. So she's kind of, is it happening in the afternoon? I was kind of guessing it was maybe beginning.
It's like a 4-hour thing. It runs from like 11 to 3 kind of block. That's the normal time frame for those events, I guess.
Okay. Maybe the event starts at noon, the golf specific event, so she needs to be there. She's got an hour, let's say, to get back to her house, get her stuff, and get over to the storybook.
Okay. So what happens if you don't show up?
I don't get paid, and I need that money for Uncle Tar.
All right. So, are you real amped about investigating this lake and the alligator? Is that?
What do you mean?
Are you gonna have to put yourself first, trying to figure this out?
Oh, potentially miss my. Yeah. I'm turning into a cougar. I need to. It comes first. Yeah.
All right, but you are you worried about Tar?
Yes. Interesting. I'm wondering, Adeline in cougar form, in beast form, is she worried about being a cougar? Yeah, I don't talk myself into a corner here.
No, it's okay. See, basically what ends up happening is that you have these conflicting priorities, right? You have your family and yourself. And yourself just happens to be in cougar form right now.
Yeah.
So if you want to keep doing this investigation, knowing that you have to get back, knowing that you need that money, you might have to prioritize.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna stay around the lake.
All right. Yeah. Can you do me a favor and make a roll? Because this is when you struggle. That's what these are. Is all when you have these conflicting sides, and you can feel the beast inside of you being like, "Fuck off with that shit." That guy's gonna die, kind of feeling. But you, as a person in here, you still know, this is a person you love and care about, and this is a responsibility you have. Prioritizes on the beast form side of the struggles. If you look at them, and it is rolling minus generous.
Minus generous. Great. So 2d6. And
if you have something on your human roll that you think you can call to, you can go ahead and try and give that a shot. I'm trying to think of the human ability and advanced ability don't really suit this particular situation.
Right.
So
can I add the modifier after I roll, or do I?
Yeah, if you roll, you can elect to do it afterwards.
Okay, it's a -2, whatever I do. Did I do this incorrectly? Sorry if I did.
That's okay. It's just, are you using roll for your party?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I just put 2 in front of the D6 thing and press submit.
Yeah, it looks like you have a 3 and a 5. Is that it?
Yeah, I took the 3 and the 4 out. They were there earlier.
Okay.
So you must have gotten the 3 and the 5.
All right. So 3 to 5.
Yeah, go
8.
ahead.
That's 8 minus your generous,
which is 2.
It's 2.
Yeah.
So basically what happens whenever you don't succeed at a roll is you still do what you were doing. So you wanted to stay at the lake and investigate this, right? You'll do that. You may be late getting to the event, but you'll get there eventually, right? But you did put yourself first. But then all of the things that you would say I'm not doing, so you end up doing whenever you get that like 6- kind of result. So here you will mark stress.
Okay. Be stress.
Yeah, the form that you're in. And you don't have exposure with an animal group. But you may in all of this investigation for this alligator, whenever you find this alligator, you might not be able to tussle with them or something, but like you see them out in the lake and they see you. That's going to cause you exposure with the town because the alligator is considered part of the town and a mundane animal. And you're doing this weird thing for a cougar, like following it around, and after they already saw you freak out once. So you'll just mark exposure. And I'll ask you, like, for your situation that you're in, you're kind of stalking it. Would it be positive or negative exposure?
And I'm thinking about this from the perspective of the alligator.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the alligator would fear for their safety with the cougar, sort of stalking it.
Yeah.
So maybe positive, or maybe that's negative. I don't know. It's negative for the alligator.
If you're saying you think that it would be scared, I think that would probably actually end up being negative because it's seeing you as a threat now.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So the town, which is the alligator, has the negative. I'm with you now. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. And the last thing is when you return to human form, you'll mark exposure. The first interaction you have with someone. And it'll be positive or negative depending on the interaction. But it's basically because you're going to be coming back basically feeling like a beast because you put yourself first, you put your beast first.
Right.
So you're really into that headspace, and it's going to be hard to pop out whenever you get out. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
Awesome. So just I don't have like a ticky box or anything set yet for like marking that you are going to have exposure, but it'll probably come up in your first scene whenever you re-engage. With that in mind, though, I'm looking at the clock and realizing that we're coming up to the end of our 4-hour session. I would like to check in with y'all and see what you want to do for the last 10 minutes. If you wanted to see about going over, I know people might have like sleep time limitations and stuff because of work and everything too. So weigh in. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know if you're enjoying what we're doing. And as I mentioned earlier, if you all really liked this and wanted to continue, set up a session in the future to play a little bit more, I would be happy to do that. I just don't want to make anyone stay up later than necessary and get tired playing the game because I know that's not fun.
Yeah, I'd like to call it soon. I am having fun, and I'd be up for joining for another session down the road if everybody else wants to.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying myself. I've got a hard stop at 11, and I think I definitely would like to play more of the system. But like I said, this is my first time online RPGing, and my goal is to do a lot of one-shots. So I don't think I would be joining in the next couple months at least.
Okay. So in the interest of, is 11 the like 2 o'clock for me, which is in like 7 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm bad at time zones.
No worries.
In the interest of meeting that hard stop, I don't want to, play on. I tried to get a scene with everybody at least doing something, and I hope that was enjoyable. But if you're interested in playing another session, I'd be happy to talk about setting it up and stopping the broadcast, in a minute to do that, so we aren't like advertising our time schedules to people. But did any of you have anything you wanted to say while we're still live? Any questions you wanted to ask about the game? I wanted to give that opportunity.
I would like to make an epilogue for my character for this session, which is that he rolls over and hits the snooze button on his alarm once more.
That's great. I love epilogues. If anyone else has one, you're welcome to share one.
Yeah, I think I'll just share the plan that I had, which was to get Adelaide to lay down some cougar scent around the sweetest dumpsters in town.
Nice.
Nice.
In the game, do we can you just sort of like say, okay, I want to try to shift into an animal form?
Yes.
Beast form? And then do you just do it, or do you have to roll for like your success in being able I think you said at the beginning of the game that you can do it whenever you want to.
Yep.
Yeah.
Changing is unless you've recently force changed and not been unstressed yet, basically, like if it's been like I literally force changed because I was too stressed out and I haven't calmed down yet, then you can't.
And the stresses, is the main feedback of the stresses to bring up like force changing and stuff like that?
Basically, like the stress is there to encourage you to find ways to not be stressed.
Mm-hmm.
And encourage you to figure out ways to make your beast and human agree on what they need to do. To try and find a smoother space in the conflict, and also to find comfort in others. Mm. So, does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
Okay, cool. Okay. Did you have something, Bill? I wasn't sure.
No, I had a lot of fun. Thanks.
Okay, great. Well, for anyone who is watching, thank you for watching. And thank you all for playing. I'm going to stop the broadcast in a couple of seconds so we can finish up for the evening.